Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I missed all of you. Welcome to Twisted Tragedies, where we follow all the twists and turns wherever they lead. I am your host, Elise, and my hair is looking a mess. It's frizz. It's 90-something degrees here. It is freaking hot still, okay? And yes, of course, I will tell you guys about the river trip, of course. We had a blast, obviously. You know, the first day was Friday, of course, so we had to drive up there Friday. Oop, gotta fix the bubbles. Hold on a second. I hate that they don't just let me set the bubble the way I want to set stinking bubble. Like, all this stuff should just automatically pop up for me, okay? Also, if you are just tuning in, welcome to our family. We go through a lot of different topics. I was on vacation over the weekend, and then I had a surprise visit yesterday. So I had planned to be here yesterday, but that didn't happen. So I wish I could say I was on vacation for an extra day or two, but I was not. Monday was almost like there was nothing left of Monday when I got home anyway. So and Tuesday was a surprise visit. So here I am Wednesday. If you would like to donate to the show, there are a bunch of different ways to do so. These ways are the best ways, the ones on the bottom of the screen scrolling by that you can see: Cashapp, Venmo, PayPal, Revolut. We have a link pinned in the chat for anybody who just wants to use credit or debit. Please make sure you have a membership to the channel. We want to make sure that get your notifications, hit that notification bell, hit subscribe, hit the like button, all of those happy things that definitely help out the channel, because we'd like to grow this amazing community we have. I love all of you, and I'm very proud of the community that we have. So let's grow this baby. That's for sure. I got a little color on my face, okay? I wish I could say that I got a little color on my legs, but even for somebody like me who's mostly white, partly Spanish, I usually get a lot of sun. My legs are whiterson, like compared to my arms, and I have psoriasis, so like I have a lot of redness already and hyperpigmentation. But look at how white my legs are, everyone. This is, last time my legs burned to a crisp because I wasn't smart enough to wear my cover up the first half. This time, though, I bought a bathing suit cover up top and bottom, and I wore the bottom the first, I'd say quarter, not even half, quarter of the float. That way I didn't get roasted. And then the next day, I feel like my legs went through walking up a Stairmaster 72 and a half times. So I put a lot of sunblock on every 80 minutes or so to make sure that I didn't burn. Thankfully, I didn't burn. But we did have an absolute blast. I feel like there's always a story from the Saco on how you almost died or how something almost went wrong. Every year there's one. Every year there's like an anthem song or like an anthem saying that happens, that just happens, right? This year, let me show you guys, all right? It's the kid, right? Is we were playing beer pong, ping pong, darts. The house, the Airbnb that we had, it was on one of the cheaper sides, but it had things like ping pong table and darts and other like games and stuff. There was this like flip the beanbag game where you put these little mini beanbags on the thing and you press the thing and you try to flip it. It was actually kind of cool. But if you guys have never seen The Toddler, all right, one of us would say the F word, or one of us would say, damn it. And because that's such a popular video, I kid you not when I say, if one person said the F word or one person said, damn it, every single time, that's what you were going to hear is this little kid and everybody going, damn it, damn it. It was quite funny. Let's see if I can find it for you guys, because I mean, the kid is adorable. It's not funny when kids swear that little, but the kid clearly has no idea what it means, but it's adorable. I can't say it. It is quite adorable. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know this is the one right here. Hold on. Hold on, let me get it on the screen for you guys to see, because it is really funny. So literally, I kid you not when I say every single time someone said, damn it, or fucking, everybody was like, fucking damn it. Because that's all you can think of is that kid, right? Like that's all you think about is that little toddler with her little hood on, this little kid right here, right? Kid's adorable, I'm not gonna lie. But this is so funny.
Fucking damn it. Oh, fucking damn it. Oh, fucking damn it. Fucking
She's
damn
so
it.
cute. I can't. I literally. So that is the official Saco anthem of this little cutie right here. But oh, she's so stinking cute. Which one are we talking about? Sometimes they change the venue. Do you mean, are we talking about Walsh? Why his stuff was at Plymouth? Who are we talking about? I do like this weather over the cold. But I will give you this, okay? Hold on, let me see if I can. If some of you weren't around when I did go live, give you a little bit of what we did. The river was packed. I'll tell you that much. Absolutely packed. There was just people everywhere. And usually on that stretch where we go, it's less packed than further back, like upriver. The river goes from New Hampshire into Maine, right? So, and you can't, I saw somebody commenting the other day and they're like, all right, so can we float from Maine into New Hampshire? I'm like, yeah, no, the river goes the other way. You have to go with the current. I will say that last year we did not have to get off of our floats at all. At all. We did not have to get off the floats. This year we had to get off the floats like 72 and a half times because the water level was so low, which was kind of aggravating in a way, but it also gave us a chance to pull up on some sandbars that we usually don't pull up on and sort of hang out for a minute, eat, chill for a minute. We found that rock that everybody was having a good old time jumping off of because the stretch that we do doesn't have any rope swings. You'd have to go further back into New Hampshire if you want to do, you know, the covered bridge and the rope swing area. But I mean, if this is something that you've never done, literally, if you have never been down the Saco River, that is 100% something that you absolutely should do. It's an absolute blast. I mean, there was plenty of people who had their whole families on the river, their kids and their dogs, little dogs wearing the life jackets. It was freaking adorable watching those dogs with their little life vests. And everybody you come across is always so nice. You know, you meet people and people share food and drinks, and it's a great time. It's a great way to meet, you know, other people and you know, make friendships. And we met a bunch of people on the river, had conversations with a lot of different people from a lot of different places. And here's where it gets funny, okay? So every year there is something that almost happens. One year we had not ever gotten in before the dam. And there's no sign that says get out here or go around, right? So we had never gotten in. So this time we got in, not this time, but the one I'm talking about, the time 2 years ago when we got in before the dam. There's no area that says like get out here. It's just trees everywhere. It's all you see. It's trees. You can't see anything but trees. And then warning, danger. So you have to. So the only thing is a sandbar. So you get off on the sandbar, and we're looking around like, where the hell do we get out? Right? Like, how do we get over to the other side of the dam without, you know, getting in the water and going over the dam? So eventually, it starts raining on us. I'm like, oh great, now we're stuck on this sandbar. My husband's floated to the other side. We went downriver and then floated to the other side to try to see if he could see anything. Bottom line is, we eventually see a guy on like a dirt bike pop out of the woods, and we're like, hey, how do we get over on the other side? And he's like, you got to come here. So we had to get back in the floats and sort of float real close to the dam where it says danger, warning, big red signs. And you have to get out, you have to carry all your stuff and get back in, which is a pain in the behind. But at that point, we had no car at that location because we're supposed to be floating back down to our campsite, right? And it starts downpouring, monsooning. And the river was already at really high levels, so it was pretty dangerous to get back in. That was not an option. So we're like, great, how do we get from here? And there was no shuttle running that day. So how do we get from here to our car or back to the campground, one or the other? So there's this guy who apparently makes all of his money taking all the cans from all the takeout and pick and get in locations. And thankfully he gave one of the guys a ride to go get the car. And the guy whose phone was dead, by the way, had no phone, made it back with a map to us. I kid you not. I was like, you're the MVP. He made it back with a map. So that was 2 years ago. So this time I made sure that nobody effed crap up, right? I'm like, all right, we got 2 cars where we put in, one at the takeout. So we just need one person to take one, person to go bring the cars all back. Right. So we're like, cool, whatever. I get it. We have it all planned out. We have 1 car here, 2 cars here. Cool. Great. Wonderful. So we're like 10 minutes left in the float, right? 10 minutes. We drop my sister-in-law's car off at the end where we're getting out because she has the biggest car we could all fit in. Right. We put hers at the end. And the other 2 at the beginning. So I take her to drop her car off, there and come back. We meet everyone. We get in, we float, we do the float for a few hours. We're like 10 minutes away from getting out. My sister-in-law's like, wait a minute. I left my keys in your car. And I'm like, what? It's like, I left them in your center console. So how are we getting anywhere? And I'm like, nightmare again. But there's people getting out everywhere. So we're like, hey. There's no Uber and Lyft really in this area. So like, that's like not an option. So when we're getting out, we're like, hey, is anyone from this area? Does anybody know if there's a shuttle that's going to run back to where we just were, or whatever? And there's a group of people who got out right next to us and they were like, hey, we can fit 2 of you. If 2 of you want to hop in with us, we have to go back to that same spot to get these people's cars. So thankfully, thanks to those very awesome people, they brought 2 of our people back. They went and got the other 2 cars and the keys that my sister-in-law left in our car, our rental. We got to get a rental because, of course, you got to get down there one way or another. And not everybody was getting there at the same time. My friend Kara was the last to arrive with her boyfriend. My sister-in-law arrived with her boyfriend probably, I want to say like 2 hours after me and my husband. So not everybody was arriving at the same time. Not everybody was leaving at the same time. So we all had to take different cars. So we had to get a rental, which, by the way, shame on you, Enterprise. Ridiculous, by the way, amounts of money to rent a car for 3 days. I'll explain it to you guys in a minute. So basically, if you guys were not around, I did go live from the river to show you guys because I promised I would show you guys what the river looks like. I promised I would show you guys how fun and just sort of chill it is. Funny enough, after I got off, and I didn't have great service up there in Maine. It was shit service on my phone, I will tell you that much, except on the river. Funny enough, when we were on the river, I had perfect service. Back at the house, not so much. But funny enough, right? Hours and hours after I go live, I got all these cultist trolls, right, popping into the comments like, aren't you broke? Aren't you broke? Oh, we give our hard, mind you, I've never seen this name before. So this whole we give our hard-earned money. I don't even know who you are, number one. Number two, I didn't know that poor people or people who are struggling are not allowed to get together with other people and enjoy a vacation once in a blue moon. I did not know that they were not allowed to float down a river, which, by the way, is free to float down the river. You don't have to pay to float down the river unless you're like renting your tubes and whatnot. We bring our own tubes because we use the same tubes. Like I could use my tube for like 3 or 4 years. And I pay the same amount as if just renting it and giving it back. So yeah, no, I save money by buying my own tube. I have my own tube and I have my own cooler that floats. And doesn't cost money to float down the river unless you need to rent those other things. And I don't because I have those things. So how dare I spend 1.5 total days actually relaxing and not either taking care of someone or working? Oh my God, how dare I? I am just an awful, horrible person, I guess, for being poor and, paying all my bills and then possibly spending 1.5 days not worrying about things for once in my life. I know I'm terrible. I must be such an awful person for having a 1.5 day vacation to myself and enjoying myself. I'm terrible, right? I mean, do they realize when they say this shit how ridiculous they sound? Basically saying like, oh, hey, because people donate to your channel, you are not entitled to go on a vacation. I'm sorry, what? Donating to my channel is completely and 100% anyone's choice. You're not required to donate to my channel to be here. A lot of people who watch me don't, and that's okay. They're still entitled to be here. That's not something that they have to do, right? But just because people donate to my channel and that's part of my income does not mean that I am not entitled to go on a 1.5 day vacation. I absolutely 100% am. And just to throw it out there, most of that vacation that I went on was paid for by Sunken Grave and his generous donation for me to have a good time on this trip. So let's just throw that out there, okay? So once again, when people don't know things, they just automatically assume shit that makes no sense. And, shame on you. I'm not required to explain how or why I went on vacation or that I am entitled to that. As a matter of fact, we talked about possibly trying to do one last float before the season ends at the end of August, if I could get enough people together to chip in. The guy who ran the Airbnb that we had could probably give us a better price off Airbnb than what we had to pay on Airbnb, because they have to get their cut and they get all the fees. But once you've done it, it's you can get the person's number and then work out a deal with they make out and you make out. And I thought about this a lot. I'm like, I really wish I could have brought every single one of you with me. It would have been so much fun to have you all there. It really would have. And so many of you, Francesca's right, so many of you were so happy for me. And I loved that. I absolutely felt the love from you guys. And I appreciate it because I do. I do a lot. And, a lot of people just think you press a button and you go live, and then when you're done, like, that's the end of it. That's not the end of it. It's also not the end of life, Also, I want to clear something up real quick from, you guys know Hot Wheels, right? Good old vile Lorena Jenkinson, that lady, that really vile, disgusting human being that tried to use her being in a wheelchair to claim 2 fake, false assaults. Remember that lady? Yeah, that lady. Remember the other day I had to cancel because my sister, I called meanie face. You're meanie face. You're a meanie face. So better news is that my sister is okay and that the numbing is going away from her leg slowly but surely. The only way to 100% confirm MS is a spinal tap. And they can't do that. So Hot Wheels had something to say about my sister's MS, that she couldn't have possibly went to the hospital and them diagnosed MS. It takes months and years. First of all, I was tested for MS myself. I very well know how long or what, things it takes to diagnose. They said suspected, right? The only way to fully diagnose, they said, was a spinal tap, which they cannot do because she found out she was pregnant. The hospital is the one who told her. So congratulations, by the way, to my sister. But the things that these people, you don't even want to, Francesca. She's out there, straight out there. Apparently, people don't realize that neurologists actually work in ERs. Isn't that amazing? And they actually do these things called MRIs and CT scans, which is exactly what they did for my sister. And they found a little swelling in the brain, which it found with me too, lesions on spine. And so that's why they think it's suspected MS. And then the neurologist, because it is a hospital that, if you go, South Shore Hospital is in Weymouth, and then the closest level 1 trauma center is Boston. So that's a level 1 trauma center, and then Boston is level 1 trauma center. So South Shore Hospital has neurologists that work there. So the neurologist came and saw my sister, and they did say that might not still be conclusive. And her blood work came back for autoimmune, which I have an autoimmune disease, so it would make sense that it's an autoimmune disease. I was tested for MS before they got me for fibro and the arthritis and the myocarditis and all the inflammation I have in my body. So I'm thinking if it's MS, it's along the, same lines as all of that, because it sort of runs in the family. My daughter's disease is also an autoimmune disease, Don't you love it, Jesse? It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me. All these people had to chime in and be like, it took me months and years to get, no way that they possibly said that they did. And maybe because she was going numb at the foot and it was going up, like up her leg all the way, and ended up at her hip. very quickly, like by the hour. And because she was pregnant, they took it a little more serious. Maybe that's why. But again, I don't think my sister needed to explain why she was at the hospital. Yeah, so they did. And weird thing, she called me this morning, her blood work came back and it says something of not Lyme. What's the other one? Not Lyme. Oh, God, what is it? Not Lyme. It's an autoimmune. It's not Lyme. It's the other one. Well, it came back as autoimmune, likely autoimmune. And I looked it up for her just because lupus, that's it. Lupus. Yes. Lupus. That it could be lupus. So I don't know. Suspected MS, blood work says autoimmune, could be lupus. I don't really know. Right? She has listen, yeah, me too. It took years and years of a lot of testing, and they tested me for MS to sort of just be like, yeah, fibro, rheumatoid arthritis, myocarditis, tinnitus, like POTS, go on and on. Autoimmune, right? I have autoimmune. And it looks like, it's funny enough, my sister is 7 years apart from me. So at the age that she's at now is actually the age that I started having my symptoms. So it sort of makes sense genetically. But yes, they did check for Lyme. They did, a CT, an MRI, and like her blood work's all, going into the chart, and she keeps reading it and it's like starting to freak her out. And I'm like, just breathe. You'll be fine. It is fine. And I think because she's pregnant, the symptoms it's making it worse. And of course she didn't know she was pregnant, right? The hospital, the ones who told her like, hey, you're pregnant. So yes, in one day they did do an MRI and a CT scan, and the neurologist did come down and talk to her. And they also gave her a referral to see the neurologist outside of that, which she has an appointment next week for. But I'm just guessing that maybe they took it a little more serious because the numbness was actively going up her body and she was pregnant. So just throwing that out there for all the know-it-alls in the cult that seem to think that they know what the F they're talking about when they don't, and just make shit up for funsies. I mean, I guess it's like fun these days to just make shit up. I don't know. I don't know. But I appreciate all of you guys, checking on my sister privately and asking me about her, because that's my baby sister. You know what I mean? Somebody else was like, does she even have a sister? I'm like, is this real life? Is this real life? Do I even have a sister? We have multiple sisters. What are you talking about? This is how much people know about people. It blows my mind. Has anybody been on X? Let me just ask that question before we go there. Has anybody been on X? Like, as a matter of fact, let's, hold on. Let me see if I can get, and yes, you're right. Autoimmune diseases are really hard to pin down. So I think almost 3 years of a lot of testing to sort of go through what could have been wrong with me, but I also wasn't pregnant, and numbness wasn't, going all the way up my body. I don't blame you, Dougie, because it is literally a cesspool. It is an absolute freaking cesspool of hate and anger, and I'll tell you guys why in a second. I mean, we know why, right? We know why, but let me skip past this. For all you guys that didn't see the flow, I'll bring you a little bit of it. It might be a little loud, so if you have headphones on, turn it down a little. We're a little loud on the river. It's because there's a ton of people everywhere on the river, like everywhere. As far as the eye could see, you could see people behind and in front of us. There were just so many people. It was actually really cool to see that many people, because the last time, like I said, on that stretch of the river, there wasn't, because Fiddlehead Campground was opened at that point. And Fiddlehead is usually where everyone goes to camp on the beach. And it's not like a traditional campground. Like, traditional campgrounds come around at like 10 or 11 o'clock and tell you have to be quiet. It's like, why would I pay to go to a campground that's going to tell me to be quiet at 10 or 11 at night? If I want to do that, I could just go to like my mother's house or something and have her tell me to shut up at 10 or 11. Why would people pay? I never understood that, because that's like a New England thing. If you go to camp, campgrounds, other places, a lot of places don't come around and on their little golf carts and go, shit, 11 o'clock. The whole point is I'm not home, right? And in bed by 11 o'clock. Or they make you put your campfire out by midnight or some ridiculous thing. So Fiddlehead doesn't do any of that, right? There are people awake pretty much all night, all day, whatever. And you can use as much beach or as little beach as you want for your setup. And so a lot of people who go to Saco just camp on Fiddlehead's like 8 beaches or one of their more secluded campgrounds on the river. Fiddlehead hasn't been opened in 2 years. It closed in 2023. They hope to open again. They hoped to open this year, but they didn't. Maybe next year. But because Fiddlehead's closed, everybody who normally would go to Fiddlehead now had to find either another campground or had to find like an Airbnb or anywhere from Swan Falls, which is Freiburg, Maine, all the way down to Hiram, Maine. Any of the sandbars that aren't posted as private, you can camp on those sandbars for free. But the problem is this. You have to go up, like you got to get canoes and go upriver with all the stuff that you need. So that is kind of a BITCH if you have a bigger group of more than like 4 people. I mean, even with 4 people, you'd probably need at least 2 canoes. You got to get the tents and it's a whole, because there's no way to just drive in, drop your stuff and go. You have to get in a boat, in a canoe, find a sandbar, bring all that stuff, get a fire permit. And so it's a whole thing. And you have to bring a lot, obviously. And so that's a whole, logistically, it's a nightmare, really, unless there's only a couple of you and you don't mind literally being very uncomfortable and not having like an air mattress and not having some of the perks of like better camping that you would have in a place like Fiddlehead. So most people just opt for what we did, which is throw in for an Airbnb and do it that way. I think most of my money was really sucked up by the rental enterprise. You suck. They hold a $300 hold on your card for no real reason. Okay. No real reason. $300 on top of what you're paying for the call. It's absurd for just a few days. Okay. Out of the reach for a lot of people. So if you can ride with other people and you all can leave and come back at the same time, do that. It's better. But if you are ever going to go down to the Saco River and you're not going to rent their tubes, I don't like their tubes either because they don't have bottoms, which makes it very uncomfortable for long times down the river. You want it to have that mesh bottom so you can sort of change positions and whatnot. But I suggest you go with more than one car because you need one car, at least where you put in and one where you get out. And that's the other thing. The hotels are like few and far between, and they're actually more expensive if you try to do multiple nights in just a hotel versus an Airbnb where you have a kitchen and a bathroom. And, the one we rented just happened to have it had a lot of things to do. We had the fire pit outside and we had ping pong. We had the little cornhole, and we had cornhole, like outside ones we could have used. We didn't end up using those, but we didn't have a lot of time. And also there's a private pond we didn't get to use. And the paddle boards we didn't get to use because we ran out of time. We got up there Friday, but Friday was really like everyone get there, make dinner for everyone, and then like pass out basically. So that's what we did Friday. Saturday morning was get to the river. By the time we got off the river, it was, nighttime. So then it's, eat, got to feed everybody again, go back to the house, eat. And that's the night we played, ping pong, darts, there's a dartboard, beer pong, a bunch of different things. And then we had a fire, and then the next morning's pack up and leave. So it, you know what I mean? We didn't have that much time. We really did want to go out onto the pond and do some paddle boarding and stuff. And I'm maybe hoping that we could possibly do it again at the end of August, but this time maybe bring the kids and have a little more time, like one extra day, do it like Friday to Monday instead of Friday to Sunday, where you have that one extra day of time is a huge help to being able to like do those extra things, like get on the paddle boards and enjoy that private pond that's part of like the neighborhood association or whatever. But you are right. If you have people that throw in together, it's cheaper. It is. We went up to Walmart, we bought food. I cooked everybody breakfast the morning we left to go float down the river because hello, everybody's got to be full. So we got, I made everybody breakfast. We had bacon, sausage, hash browns, toast, all sorts of shit. And I was like, everybody needs to eat because everybody needs to have a full stomach. And I brought my Mary Lou's coffee with me. There was a coffee machine. So I made my Mary Lou's coffee. I just put it in the fridge and I made it iced. And before I left, I asked Mary Lou's to give me a cup this big full of their mocha, and I paid for it. And they did, because I know them and because I get my coffee there, obviously. And so I was able to make my own coffee up there iced. And my sister, I don't know if you guys saw, but my sister, it's on my Facebook, so you probably didn't see, made these beautiful custom cups. Every year when I do this trip, I bring something for everyone to like remember the trip, right? And this year I did just the girls, because really there's not much you can give guys, and really they don't really care. So I had my sister she makes these glass, you call them coffee mugs, regular cups, whatever, these glass cups, and they have lids, wooden lids, and glass straws. She can make them custom. She can make, the design she already has. And then she makes like custom stickers and custom bracelets. So I asked her, and here's mine, right? My bracelet actually matches my cup. I asked her to match the colors of the cups. So this is my bracelet, and it says my name, and then it says Sacco, 25, as in 2025. So I have one, Jackie has one, Kara has one, and everybody got a different cup. My sister-in-law's cup had little iced coffee cups on it with little bows. Kara's cup had a cowboy boot, a cowboy hat, a cactus, a flip-flop. It was very southern summer. And mine has flowers with skulls inside, because you guys know that I absolutely love my skulls. As a matter of fact, hold on, let me see if I can grab mine real quick and show you guys. For my sister's shop, she has a shop that she makes cups, stickers, keychains, all sorts of other stuff. She makes literally anything you could think of. So did I for a long time. I just don't have the time. But I will show you the pictures of it. In the meantime, I'll show you guys a little bit of the float. Let's see. Why isn't the...
Hello, everybody. Woo! So we are on the Sacco currently. Ready? Sacco! As you can see, this is the panoramic view of Sacco River. Slow down, Chris. Slow down. You're famous. I'm so famous.
I'm Facebook famous.
We are having an absolute blast, of course. If you have never been to the Sacco River, you should. My husband is about to jump off this cliff over here. He's he's climbing up the cliff currently to jump off into the water. Hell yeah, brother!
It's my sister-in-law.
I'm probably gonna get a copyright strike.
Come on,
The music. Everyone's playing music.
go!
Let's go! You gotta hype them up, you know what I mean, guys?
There's a ton of people jumping off it, by the way. He's not the only one.
I mean, if you've never been to the Sacco River, this is what it looks like, folks. Here it is, you guys.
See the canoe?
Far as the eyes can see.
Just people
Everywhere.
everywhere.
Having a good old time on the Sacco. We just floating and having some drinks and relaxing, and it has been a great trip. I wish all of you were here. It is so much fun, DJ. It is fun, Jane. Hey, Karen. I see all of you.
Literally, wish I could have brought all of you with me.
Yes, Chris. Do you want to try? Tie us off. See,
Go,
the kids are
Chris. He
jumping.
does go.
The adults are jumping. With the little flips. The last time I was here, the river was actually eight feet higher. We actually had to get out at one point.
Let her rip, tater chip.
Tater chip. Oh man. I wish we were all here. There he goes. There he goes.
Can't really see him. He's jumping off this. Oh, there he goes. Giant rock over there. That's a skunk.
Oh, that's
Sorry.
it. Chris is next. Don't. Come on, Chris. That
Poor
big blue
Chris,
spot on his
by
back,
the
which came
way.
from the float, guys. You can do it, Jackie.
He got a different kind of float. Him and my sister-in-law got a different kind of float than we did. And as you can see, my float's white. It's a 2-person float. And so his is blue, and he ended up with the blue all over his back from the float. Like the dye of the float just came off all over his back. And we're like, yeah, you look like a Smurf, Papa Smurf.
It's in the middle of the woods, you know. The trees are beautiful. People are camping all along the sandbars, which anywhere from Swan Falls down, you can camp for free. I have my space buns in today, so excuse my appearance, but I
use space buns. Easiest thing you can do going down the Saco. Ponytail, bun, space buns.
Fine, he'll survive. But Saco River is popping as it usually is. As I expected. They're doing it again. They're literally doing it again. Come on, Chris. Come on, baby. He's gonna lose the Crocs. Crocs, come on,
The
Ray.
Crockinators. I was waiting for his Crocs to fly up off
You
his
guys can
feet.
see, I am literally just like chilling in my float. I chose to wear my pants at the moment.
Thank God I wore my
pants,
cover-up.
because if
Thank
you
God.
don't, even with sunblock, your legs will freaking
I
burn.
burned last time.
So
This time
I'll take them off at some point.
It was
It
right
took a
after
long
this that I
time
did
for
take
us
it off.
to get up here, and we basically had a movie night last night. Actually, we had
We watched Happy
Airbnb
Gilmore
left
2.
us a bottle of wine, which was really nice of them, and we watched Happy Gilmore 2 together. It was hilarious, and we have this
It was pretty
game
fun.
that I got on Amazon, right?
Fish game.
And it's fish. They're like beanbag
Beanbag
fish,
fish.
and you have to pick them up with your butt cheeks. It was quite funny watching the boys try to pick these fish up with their butt cheeks.
It was pretty
okay?
funny. It was pretty funny.
Hey, Grave.
It was pretty funny.
But I do wish all of you guys were here. I feel like we have to plan some sort of
I'll
Twisted
put you guys
Tragedies
in my
outing,
pocket.
because
I wish I
feel
could have
like
put you all in my pocket
it was super muddy.
to get in.
So,
was
you know, I
bad.
have
to get in was awful. It was all mud at the put in. It sucked. Thankfully, I had water shoes on because they're definitely recommended for that area.
it's always a blast. It's always a freaking blast. And I wish a lot of you were here.
Husband behind me just eating a sandwich. He's
I
just
didn't know
eating a
we were
sangy.
If you need this hat back, you can.
He's just eating a sangy.
I think it definitely needed it. A lot of us do. Hey, freak. But I love your stinking faces, and I will.
Every
Look at how many people are down that river.
20 minutes,
That's
you'll probably
ridiculous.
hear people
Like,
screaming,
just
"Staggo!" You see how low the water is, though?
Like that is
That water was so low, we had to get out numerous times. I've never actually had to ever get out, ever. So you see that's like sand on the side there that you guys can see? Last year, the water was all the way up to the top of that, where the tree line is. So feet and feet and feet above that. So the current was much faster. This was going at a snail's pace. So where we got in versus where we get out is usually like a 2-hour, maybe 3-hour float when it's like medium conditions. Even faster, 2 years ago, it took us like not even 2 hours. From Swan Falls, I think, to Fiddlehead, it took not even 2 hours. Right? For real. I don't know. There just apparently hasn't been a lot of water up there, I guess, or rain. Weird. But this time, the water was so low in certain spots. In certain spots, it went right under your head and it just kind of went down. Boop. But most of the river on that part of it was so low that multiple of us had to get out and let the boys sort of pull us a little bit. Like, what the hell? not people, people got in and out anyway, which we don't normally do. When you do that float, we don't normally have to ever get out of the floats. So it was kind of cool to be able to get out, walk for a minute, stop everyone for a second. You can't normally do that. The current is usually going pretty quickly so that there is no stopping and getting out and stopping the float. The float's going. So if you get out, you may not catch back up to the float, which is why we don't normally have to get out. So I'm hoping that maybe it rains in the next couple of weeks. And if I can logistically figure out how to get back up there by the end of August, I think it would be nice to have the one extra day and try to do like paddleboarding on that pond. Because it really is like one of those things where you're R&R, but we only really had one full day of that, the Sunday morning was like pack up, clean everything in the Airbnb and get ready to leave before you hit ridiculous amounts of traffic on the Kangamangas Highway. And then Friday was the same, getting up there. And we sat in a lot of traffic getting up there, and we left early, which was weird. But we did. We sat in a crap ton of traffic on the way up. And so it was getting there, getting everything put away, feeding everyone. We watched Happy Gilmore 2. We played the fish game. We did do that. It was hilarious. Thanks, Amazon. But logistically, if you have that one extra day, I feel like it definitely helps, because really we had about 1.25 days and the float, we really wanted to hope, like, because of the timing of everything, we weren't able to do another float Sunday. Usually we try to do a float Sunday and leave Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, but it didn't make sense logistically with the kids and stuff coming back, so we couldn't. But I will tell you, it absolutely is one of those things that's a mental reset, just floating down that river and just being with people.
Something that you have to try if you haven't.
Oh, my brother's going up there right now.
I love you guys.
And you can hear everyone around you, everybody's clapping and screaming, Sago! And, it's definitely an absolute blast. If you have not tried it, it's definitely something that you should try. I think there are other rivers that do this. Someone else was saying, I think Colorado earlier. Colorado, and there's other places, So I hope so. I think logistically the worst part is, like, if I had my own vehicle, it wouldn't be that much of a logistical nightmare, but because I don't, that means I have to try to pay for a rental, and that is the hardest part. Otherwise, I feel like the rest of it would be easy peasy lemon squeezy to get 6 or 8 or 10 people sort of thrown together and go up. That part's the easy part. It's the logistics that's the hard part, and the extra, like, $600 for a rental is really not in the budget. So unless you can find someone that's going to drive there with you, up and back, and that sometimes, because of everyone else's schedule, is difficult too. So, but I do think that if there's something like that you guys have not done, do it. If it's something that's sitting on your bucket list and you're like, damn, like, I really want to do this thing and it sounds like fun and I've never done it. There's so many people that said to me, I've never done the Saco and I want to go so bad. And I'm like, if you can make it, you're more than welcome. A lot of people obviously had, like, prior engagements, work, things like that. We had planned this ahead of time, but I'm like, the more the merrier. If it's on your bucket list of things to do, let's freaking do it. Let's check that thing right off your bucket list. And I couldn't have asked for a better set of people to do it with. Me and my sister-in-law are very close. And we are one giant comedy show together. I have a lot of pictures on my regular Facebook you could sort of see in those pictures, like, how ridiculous we are. We're like little kids laughing and dancing, and we're playing ping pong and beer pong and darts, and we're like little kids making jokes like "let it rip, tater chip." Just the things that fly out of our mouths are crazy. We did s'mores. We did s'mores, but it was an absolute blast. So in the meantime, while I was gone, there was some drama, right? There was some drama while I was gone. Drama bell, ring, ring, ring. A lot of it on X. Also, secondly, Karen's civil date, at least the next one, has been set for September 22nd. Okay, September 22nd for the civil shit. That's the next date for Karen Reed's civil crap. In the meantime, she's also asked for her car and phones back. And certain people are like, they can't do civil forfeiture. Actually, they can. She was found guilty of an OUI, DUI, whatever. And civil forfeiture they can take before you even are actually found guilty of a crime, which is why so many people are against civil forfeiture. But if you're suspected of a crime and that item, phone, car, was used in said crime, they absolutely can seize it and keep it. I don't know if that's what the Commonwealth plans on doing, is keeping her vehicle, but they would be in their rights to do so if they wanted to. Her phones, I don't know. Why haven't they given her phones back yet? I could guess of a few reasons. Now, if the Commonwealth does not respond and say, okay, cool, we're going to give her back her phones, that is a red flag to me that maybe, just maybe, they are dealing with something bigger. Like maybe, just maybe, they're investigating something, or maybe, just maybe, the feds are, and therefore cannot give her back her devices. I don't know. We'll have to find out, right? We will have to find out. But if the Commonwealth responds and says, hey, we're not going to give you your phones back right now. Like, here, you can have your car, but we're not going to give you your phones back right now. I think that's a very good indication that the federal government would be looking into some of these things. And from what I understand from my own sources, the federal government is looking into things currently right now, like cyber stalking. And they're actually, Leah Foley specifically, that's a very real possibility that she's sort of forcing an answer to whether something is being investigated or not by doing it. It's a very real possibility that our attorneys, sort of maneuvered that way to say, we want our stuff back, because there's only two things that can happen. They can say, okay, cool, here you go. Or they can say, no, we cannot release that right now because there's an ongoing pending investigation. And so that's kind of, like Pam said, it's kind of forcing an answer. Are you investigating, or will you just give me my stuff back, right? One of two. It absolutely could be forcing an answer. But I do know this. I know Leah Foley, who is the U.S. Oh, don't worry, I will. Who is from the U.S. Attorney's Office, who took over for Josh Levy. She's not playing around. I'll tell you that. So it's not the same as when Josh Levy was there and he was sort of just dealing with all of this cyber stalking and mob behavior. Leah Foley is not playing that game. So for as long as I can remember, the U.S. Attorney's Office really didn't take cyber stalking seriously. My sources tell me that office is not effing around anymore. That because of Karen's case and because of the amount of complaints that came into the Attorney General, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and state police and local PD in the state of Massachusetts, they are taking a very hard look at cyber stalkers and criminal harassment and stalking. Because in Massachusetts, the stalking laws include online and text message. So it includes any kind of electronic communication. You can be charged just with stalking. Cyber stalking itself is a federal crime. The U.S. Attorney's Office can charge you with cyber stalking, which carries a pretty hefty sentence. A man from Plymouth was just sentenced to 9 years for cyber stalking multiple women. One woman who he took some online course of hers for like multiple years, over a decade, I think, for one woman. It was like a couple of years for another, but he was cyber stalking all these women, and he just got 9 years. He was charged by Leah Foley, and they made a statement. And so my sources have told me that Leah Foley herself, not just her office, but herself, is not playing around and wants to make an example out of people who are cyber stalking, so that people are put on notice that this will not be okay in the state of Massachusetts. That if you think that you've been getting away with this behavior for this long, that you thought wrong, because her office is not going to put up with that kind of behavior. So I don't think she can drive right now, as far as I understand. I'd want my stuff back too, but she was found guilty of the OUI, so I don't know, It sure did. It brought a lot of light to that. But my sources tell me that Leah Foley herself is the one sort of spearheading this cyber stalking and dealing with cyber stalkers and harassers, because there's been too much of it. And because people have thought that because they've gotten away with it this long, that it emboldens them to continue. this is why she's now taking it so seriously. This is why she is not being like, okay, cool, we'll just let it go like Levy's office did. She's making an example out of people because she wants people in the state of Massachusetts to know that this behavior is not going to be tolerated and you will be charged federally for it. If the state police don't charge you, if the local PD don't charge you, the U.S. Attorney's Office will. And I'll tell you, at least the sources that I have never been wrong on a single thing that they've given me ever, and for good reason. So it's easy for me to say that I would keep an eye on anything that comes out of the U.S. Attorney's Office that has anything to do with cyber stalking or Karen Read's case in general. That's a very real possibility. Obstruction of justice is a very real possibility. I think that would be more at the state level, though, than you would see at the U.S. Attorney's Office, but they very well could. That's a good question, Maui. Apparently she needs 75 attorneys. I don't really know. Really, for me, it just seems like more show. Oh, look at all the attorneys I have. I'm going to win. So many attorneys. I need so many. You could have 75 attorneys. That doesn't mean that you're going to win, and it doesn't mean that you're right. As we know, civil cases have a smaller burden of proof than a criminal case. And so realistically, all anybody has to prove is it likely that she could have? And the answer is obviously yes. So smart choice would just be settle, but I don't think you're ever going to see that happen. If they took it to trial, they can get what's called treble damages, which is 3 times the amount that you would normally win. You would times that by 3. That is a very real possibility as well, girl. And I thought about that when I saw, I think it was last night, because some of this information that I got about the cyber stalking came Friday night. So when I saw yesterday, because I had shit service up there. We had Wi-Fi, but because we were all connected to the Wi-Fi, it was very slow. So I checked when I could, but I wasn't getting great, service. So I'm, checking everything out or whatnot. And I find out she added more attorneys, right? And I'm like, why and so I'm starting to do the math in my head. And I'm like, this makes sense for the information I'm getting, some of which obviously I can't share with you guys right now. Just always know that there are things that I know that I just can't share, right? Sometimes there are things that I can't share for numerous reasons. One being I have to confirm it. Another being it's just not something I can share at that moment and that I have to share later on to protect people or things or whatever, right? So just know that I know more than I sometimes tell you guys for good reason, okay? Now, from what I know, out of what's going on with these investigations and the civil case coming and all that, all of the work that Leah Foley's office is doing currently, it is to show people that this behavior, the stuff that happened during the Karen Read case and to these witnesses and innocent people, anybody who stuck up for the witnesses or really anybody else who was attacked, innocent people, okay? Anybody who stuck up for innocent people does not deserve to be harassed into oblivion, all right? The case is over, and yet I still get cyber stalked every day by some of these people. Every single day. Like, what the hell? Yeah, we're gonna go over that in a second, Brittany. Don't you worry, because I got something to say about that. But to me, right? Why is Karen adding all these attorneys unless she's got an inkling of things that I have an inkling of, which means she has some sort of idea that they're looking into her in some sort of capacity, in some way, that she needs to have multiple attorneys sort of watching everything that's going on, and one attorney handle this and one attorney handle that. I mean, it's absurd to have that many. There's no reason for that many, realistically. There just isn't. But there's a big difference between having a state attorney and a federal appeals attorney. So, if you look at what each attorney usually does or what their specialty is, it starts to make a little bit more sense as to why she's adding all of these attorneys to pad herself in, thinking that if this happens, I'll have this attorney. If this happens, I'll have this attorney, right? I get it. But hey, Karen, where are you getting all that money? Just wondering. Asking for a friend. Any more envelopes, Karen? I'm asking. I mean, hey. Just asking. I think Alan Jackson would be smart to just go away, considering I don't think his wife is too happy with what his extracurricular activities in the Karen Read case. I don't think that was something that she loved, but that's the other thing. So I told you guys about this. We talked about this. Was it my last show? Or was it the one before that, before I went on vacation? I'm trying to remember if it was the last one or if it was the one before that. Either way, we went over this, right? He had her attorney's file for being on probation that she shouldn't have to, right? Now, here's the thing. It's standard for anybody on probation in the state of Massachusetts, right? Standard, pretty standard, that you can't leave the state, all right? And if you're going to leave, you can't just leave when you want, but if you're going to leave the state, you have to get permission ahead of time. You have to get permission ahead of time, and you have to ask the court, right? Can I leave the state for this many days, blah, blah, blah. And you're limited to 14 days. Her team went in there to Bristol County and said, we don't want to have to ask permission for her to leave the state, and we don't want her to have a 14-day limit like everybody else in the state of Massachusetts has. We want her to be able to leave the state anytime she wants without permission ahead of time. I'm sorry, what? Here's the weird part about it. They granted it. And I'll tell you, I've never seen that happen, ever. I've literally watched judges scream at people asking for that same thing, and I'll never forget this last one. I was helping a friend with a housing case, and we were sitting in court waiting for her motion to be heard that I helped her write. And somebody asked the same thing, asked for them to not have to ask ahead of time, and for the 14 days to not be 14 days. They could just, however many they needed for the year, whatever. And the judge stopped and looked right at the person and said, so let me get this straight. You're asking me if you can just waive the rules for you and you only? This is standard for every person that's on probation in the state of Massachusetts. You can't leave the state. You committed a crime. You were found guilty. This is how it works. You want me to waive that same thing for you so that you specifically don't have to follow the rules, but everybody else should have to, like you're special or something. And of course, the person's like, Your Honor, I'm not saying I'm special, but the circumstances are, is I have family in, I think it was Dominican Republic or something, and we go there 3 years out of the 3 months out of the year, whatever it was. And the judge stopped and cocked his head sideways and was like, you should have thought about that before you committed the crime, shouldn't you have? Denied. Everyone on probation has to follow that. The weird part about it is they allowed it for Karen. I don't know how many times I've watched that be denied for other people. So it just does go to show you that if you have money, you're treated very differently. Okay? Money and connections will let you have special priority over people who do not have money and connections, because I have watched numerous people be denied that exact same thing. I have watched people be denied leaving the state for a loved one that's going to pass, or a loved one's funeral that has passed, simply because they're on probation and they're not allowed to leave the state. Absurd that she would be allowed no limit of 14 days and to leave the state whenever she wants. I mean, that absolutely is special treatment. So anybody saying it isn't would be lying. It absolutely is special treatment. I have never seen that happen. Usually that kind of motion is absolutely denied. It is part of the standard couple things you have to do while on probation. There's only a few things she has to do. If you take away half of it, why is she even on probation? Why even give it to her? What's the point? What's even the point at that point, right? What's even the freaking point? Yep, they sure did. They sure did. They sure did. And nonetheless, in the same county that her parents live in. Shocker, huh? They waited to ask for that until it got moved to the county she lives in, which is Bristol. Funny, huh? So, Brittany brings up a very good point. David Yannetti over the weekend, or maybe it was the end of last week, decided he was going to tweet something about Julie Carr, which was completely inappropriate, right? Completely inappropriate, sexist, disgusting, and borders on sexual harassment, in my opinion. He doesn't have to like Julie Carpenter, all right? Does not have to like her, all right? She's been a great advocate for innocent people, the witnesses in this case. I am not personal friends with Julie. I don't really know much about her other than her tweets and, following the case. But I do know this, is you don't have to like someone. And, David Yannetti claims he doesn't watch anything that she writes. He doesn't read anything she writes or anything she's tagged him in because he doesn't care to. And that she can, get ready for it, she can wear all the low-cut shirts she wants, but he doesn't read any of it and none of it is important. And he doesn't care that she says X, Y, and Z. Anybody, one of these things is not like the other. One of these things does not belong. What the hell does whether it's a high cut or low cut shirt have anything to do with anything? Hold on, David Yannetti. Your argument is that you don't care if she wears low cut shirts. What is wearing a low cut shirt, as many low cut shirts, what does that have anything to do with your argument? So you're essentially saying, even though he's saying he doesn't look at anything she writes or anything that she has tagged him in, he then repeats things that she has, right? And then talks about she can wear all the low-cut shirts she wants. Wearing a low-cut shirt or a high-cut shirt or no shirt or 7 shirts really does not matter in any context at all. So A, David Yannetti, why are you looking at her boobs, number one? Number two, what does a low-cut shirt have anything to do with the actual argument and substance of what she's saying? And three, you can keep pretending that you don't read what she writes, but you literally just made a tweet about how you don't read X, Y, and Z that she writes, which means you clearly read it. So not only do you sound like a hypocrite, but you also sound like an idiot and a sexist pig. I don't give a shit if she wore the most low-cut shirts on planet Earth every single day of the week. What does that have to do with the arguments, the wonderful and valid arguments she has made about you being a fucking deplorable human being? Asking for a friend. Also, not professional in any capacity to talk about what kind of cut shirts a woman wears. I mean, I'm utterly disgusted by that. And everybody else should be too. Like, keep it classy, David Yannetti. Keep it fucking classy. You're deplorable. Come on. I agree with you, Brittany. But little birdie told me, right? Little birdie told me that there will be some consequences for some of these people. And that because they sort of think that they've gotten away with stuff at this point, they're sort of just handed more rope to hang themselves with. And it is what it is. If they continue doing it, that's on them. They can blame nobody but themselves. Although, in the end, they'll just blame it with some giant cover up and some giant conspiracy to make them do all the things that they do. That's Stuart Turtle's thing, right? Is to complain some vast conspiracy and everybody set him up that doesn't exist. Nobody set him up. Nobody held a gun to his head and said, hey, go do this or go do that. He did all these things of his own free will and volition. Okay. All of them. He did on his own with no help from anybody but himself and maybe his minions to do what he wanted to do. And then he goes and blames everyone else. Oh, it's a vast conspiracy against Turtle Boy to shut him up. No, sir, nobody made you do any of the things you did. You did them yourself. So tell me again how it's a setup for you to do these things. You have this thing called free will. You can choose to not do those things. But you can't because you have no goddamn impulse control. And because you can't take responsibility for anything or anyone you've hurt or any of the lies you've told, you just blame everyone else. So I can't wait for another vast conspiracy to be like, they set me up. It was all a giant setup. So absurd. The fact that anyone believes this, anyone believes that it's some giant setup is utterly hilarious to me. All you have to do is literally go back to like the first thing he did and be like, oh, hey, he chose to do that against the advice of his attorney, against the advice of Karen herself. And he still chose to do it anyway because he couldn't fucking help himself. How can you set someone up for something they're doing on their own? Unless somebody is holding a gun to your head or telling you to do something and holding something over your head and saying, if you don't do this, I'm going to do this to your family. You can't. The man did it himself of his own free will because he's fucking loco in la cabeza. Okay? Like, what? It's our favorite thing is to play the victim. What do you mean? Favorite thing is to talk about the case, right? Make nonsensical, ridiculous conspiracy theories that don't align with the evidence, not even a little bit. Make really vague, generalizations of things that, again, there's evidence completely contradict, and then bitch and whine when people criticize what she has to say. You cannot be the victim. You should have done what the rest of the jurors did. Some of them had something to say. Cool, they did it, and then they went about their business, right? She didn't. She continued on and on and on and on and on, and then started trolling trolls and then trolling other people she didn't like, and, you know, on and on and on and on and on. She likes the attention. There's no doubt about it. It's all about attention for her, which is why I give her 0 of it. Notice I give her none? There's a reason for that. Because if you don't give people like that oxygen, then they don't get it. You know? I refuse to give her that kind of attention. She can get it from somewhere else, because it ain't coming from me. Exactly, Francesca. They want the probation to feel like nothing. Like, she doesn't have to follow this. Why would you have to follow these rules after being found guilty of drinking and driving? You know? Yep, you usually have to have sometimes a month in advance, depending on your probation officer or the district you're in, you know? That's okay. We can just, Paul's good. It's a damn good question, Chris, ain't it? Hey, Jack. Thank you so much. And it's utterly disgusting. Money and connections is right, my friend. We know how that works, right? Listen, if half of the people here had the money and connections that she did, half of you would be rich because you'd be running companies because you're so intelligent. It's the bottom line. If half of you could get a favor from someone that you knew that ran a company or was the CEO, you could be at the top of that company because you're intelligent enough, you work hard enough, and you know it. You know the industry well enough, but you don't have the connections. The who do you know? It's not what you know, it's who you know. Let's remember that. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Right? Just is. Connections was the reason. Make no mistake. Money helped, but connections was the reason. You know? Yeah, it does make a big difference. Listen, I feel this deep in my soul, Britt, but what I can tell you is this. I can tell you that this isn't the end. It's not over. This isn't the end of it all. There's lots of things sort of happening behind closed doors. There's always lots of things happening behind closed doors. Hey, Lindsay. Let's just put it that way, okay? Well, I think you would have seen her sort of give more of a verbal spanking if Karen had been found guilty. But because she wasn't, I think she saved it for just the BBO to deal with. I don't think she thought it was appropriate after Karen was acquitted of the other charges to say something. Although if I was the judge, I would have. I absolutely would have. Because the way that they behaved, and most of them being guests in your state, in your courtroom, you got to put a stop to that. To be fair, attorneys are going to continue to act like that in her courtroom because she allowed it and continues to allow it. And I really hope that some of her lawyer and judge friends say to her, like, listen, and they don't just beat her on the bush and like not say anything because they don't want to hurt her feelings, but because they care about her, they step up and they say, hey, you know, Bev, I think you need to sort of take better control of your courtroom, because if you don't, these attorneys are now going to walk all over you, seeing what you allowed the other attorneys to do in the Reed case. And if she's not aware of that, you can't be a good judge if you're not aware of those types of things, right? Everyone makes mistakes. She's human. She's not inhuman. She's not a robot. She's a human, right? So we expect mistakes from humans. That's how it works. We're imperfect beings, my friends. All right. We are imperfect beings. But this kept going on and on and on. And if she looks back on this and doesn't think that she did anything wrong when it comes to this case, I'd say that she's not fit to be a judge at that point, right? Letting Marie Russell testify as an expert, that was such a just shitty legal take. Probably one of the shittiest I've ever seen. There's no real science or methodology. So you can't debunk something that's not a thing to begin with, right? It's a double negative. there's no such thing as a professional dog bite expert. So you can't debunk something that doesn't exist. Other than there's no bottom jaw, there's no DNA. You can't let somebody be like, well, I read a bunch of books for 20 years, so I'm an expert. If that's the case, right? And somebody's done extensive or has extensive knowledge on something, then I am an expert in law, if that's how we're doing things nowadays. That's not the way it works, okay? I would never expect to go into a court and be like, I'm an expert of X, Y, and Z because I read books for 20 years. It was a hobby of her, a so-called hobby of hers, but she couldn't tell you if they were each separated what it was, only if it was one group, which tells you there is no real scientific methodology or way to, never mind the fact that the marks are too far apart to have been teeth of a canine, okay? All of these things should have easily been, listen, we can't let this woman testify as an expert because she very clearly is not. Might be a hobby, might be something she likes. Cool, great, wonderful, but she is not an expert. That was one big boo-boo. The second boo-boo was allowing ARCA to testify in the second trial at all after what they did. They were clearly biased. They were clearly doing shady shit. Sorry, not in my courtroom. The third big boo-boo, and these are in no order of like what's worse or not, just in general, was allowing the sewer turtle even in your courtroom to begin with. There are witnesses and now jury members in this courtroom, of which some people know who he is and know about the things that he did when it comes to these witnesses, that he has tried to change their testimony this entire time, and you allow him to sit there. I don't give a fuck if he says he's a journalist or not. That does not give you the ultimate right. A judge can throw anybody out of their courtroom for any reason whatsoever. To be afraid to throw him out because he might cry First Amendment doesn't matter. You have a legal reason to say, no, he has been charged with intimidating witnesses in this very case. He absolutely will not be allowed in my courtroom because I don't want it to sway the jury one way or another. I want it to be fair. When you're only focused on the rights of the defendant and not the rights of anyone else, that's also a huge problem. Your job is to make sure that everything is fair, right? Not just for the defense, but for the Commonwealth as well. And there were so many things that the Commonwealth asked for that were pretty straight up that any other judge would have been like, okay, yep, sure, that she said no on, which made no sense to me at all. And there were things that she gave the defense that no other judge would have given them because they were nonsensical. Nonsensical. And I agree, unethical. I mean, if there was a word that was more than unethical, because they're, in my opinion, they're way worse. Unethical doesn't even cover it, you know? Doesn't even. And I do think that some jury members in that second trial easily swayed other jury members who just wanted to be done with it all after all that time, was like, fine, if you're never going to agree with us, then, you know, compromise verdict it is. That's not right either, you know? I actually don't know. I've been gone for a few days, Friday to Sunday, and yesterday was more like, you know, clean up the house and unpack everything. And Monday, Tuesday, I had a visitor. So long distance family member I haven't seen in a long time just kind of popped up, surprise. Great uncle of mine that is moved to California now and was here for a visit. I didn't know he was here, so I got to see him real quick. And so I wasn't here yesterday for that, but I will check for you. I do believe that there's another court date in August, I believe. Sometime in August. I feel like I want to say middle to end. I'd have to look, though. A lot of them are. To say something like that about a shirt of a woman online you don't even know. Like, what? It was a fraud on the court. Absolutely. I think a lot of people weren't, Pam. That's for sure. You know? Oh, they're still saying the innocent friends that have nothing to do with anything are the actual, quote, killers, and everybody needs to, quote, look into what really happened. We know what happened. You let the killer walk free. That's what happened. It's really not that hard. This isn't rocket science here. Well, I believe you're wrong on that, Jack. Again, just based on things that I know. But I do believe you're wrong on that. I agree. She was not a suitable judge for that case. Problem being is that she was the chief judge in that area. So she, instead of rotating the case out like is normally done, kept it for herself. Just like she did the same thing with the Chesney case. She could have passed it along to another judge, but no. Why would she do that when there's cameras involved, right? Let's not give that to another judge. Let's give it to her. I'm sorry, but I just don't. Okay, two court cases, 2 officers that have died, both in the first trial, both had a mistrial. What does that tell you? What does it tell you? I'm sorry, I just don't think Judge Cannone is fit for the job. Definitely not for the Chief Justice position. I think there's definitely somebody more qualified than she is for that. She's rotated. So she might be in some civil court stuff, like filling in, but there are districts that work together to sort of rotate out. And so, say for instance, she was like, hey, I want to do like less criminal work and I want to do more civil work. She could rotate herself into the civil or civil and criminal over in, Plymouth or Bristol, whatever, like, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I think you'll find in probably 6 months or so, she'll be back in Dedham. It's usually like 3 to 6 month rotations. And that's exactly it, Brittany. And that's all they really needed in this case was a judge that sort of commanded the courtroom and that you wouldn't even attempt to try some of the things that they attempted in this case because they knew they wouldn't get away with it. That's the kind of judge. Judge Sunken. Hey, Sunken. We were just saying thank you to you earlier. There was no respect in that courtroom. There just wasn't. There just wasn't. Yeah, I agree. I fully agree. Yes, because she was rotated in, right? I'm surprised that she didn't hang on to that one. More so because that one started and the Karen Reed case was already going on. I think she thought Karen's had more cameras, so she held on to that one and passed the Walsh one along. Fully agree. Should not have. Absolutely should not have. Oh my God. That'll be amazing. Don't you worry. I am keeping a close eye to see what idiotic attorney attempts to hire that lady again. Absolute disaster she is. I mean, let's really be real here. Anybody hiring Marie Russell has got to be very desperate because if you watch all of her stuff together, she literally, I kid you not, literally changes her opinion based on who's asking the question and based on which court appearance it is. She contradicts herself in almost all of them. So she's not a good witness. Definitely not a good expert witness. So if you're hiring someone that you know and you can clearly see is not a good witness, well, I don't know. I don't know. That's pretty desperate. I agree. It was pretty unbelievable. Speaking of Adelson, who's ready for Donna's case? I am ready. She is so smug, right? Like, lady, you are in on a murder for hire plot with your family. What the f is wrong with you? Then you want to act indignant. Like, how dare you be locked up? I'm sorry, what? This is giving off like Murdoch vibes. Like, my family could never. No, we get away with everything. We have money. What do you mean? And Lori Vallow and Daybell, those two deplorable human beings. I agree with you, Jack. You can, but here's the problem with that is it's not going to go anywhere, right? In order to complain, it would be the same process, really, for you. I mean, you could call your lawmakers and you can call the governor's office and you can complain. You can file with the BBO just like you would do when it comes to lawyers, but the BBO isn't going to do anything, even if, and here's the funny part, even when there are really valid complaints with evidence, oftentimes the BBO with the evidence will send you a letter and it sounds something like this. And I'm paraphrasing, obviously. Nothing to see here. This could have been an inadvertent error. Thanks, goodbye. So what they do is make up excuses. Even when you have concrete proof that it's not just an accident, it wasn't just a mistake, it was purposeful, and the attorney did it purposefully, the BBO will just say, nothing to see here, could have been a mistake, even when it's very clearly not, and they are caught red-handed. The BBO is run by other lawyers. Let's make that clear. The only time a lawyer actually gets in trouble is when there is a ton of public pressure and a huge outcry of the public when it comes to a certain case. That is the only time you're going to see the BBO do anything. Now, let's make something abundantly clear. One of the last BBO things I watched, which was a couple months back before Karen's case ended, one of the head guys at the BBO there literally, and this was a public hearing, said, you know, a lot of people have no faith in the BBO and that we don't do what we're supposed to do. So, and he went on to do this little speech about how they really need to take it seriously and they need to do their job correctly and people don't have faith in them and people don't think that they do their jobs. It's because you don't. I mean, hello, I'm sorry to say, but when you have, you know, it's like having a doctor investigate another doctor. They're going to cover for their friend, right? Or having a bunch of doctors cover for another doctor, even if they don't know them. It's the same with the BBO. You're talking about other lawyers and retired judges looking over other lawyers and judges. They're not going to actually suspend their licenses. They're going to put themselves in their place and be like, well, had I done that and I didn't, or I did do that and I didn't get caught and I don't want to suspend them. So because I didn't get suspended, that's the problem that we have. What needs to happen is on all of these different kinds of boards, and this same thing applies to the police. Realistically, you can't have police investigating police. That's where the corruption comes in. Sorry, not sorry. You just can't have it like that, right? There needs to be other entities that do it. And I even think that some citizens, regular citizens, need to be put on some of these boards, including the BBO. Regular citizens. Maybe they need to have legal knowledge. Cool, great. But citizens, because that way, it is not just we're all looking out for one another. There are independent people who might know something about the law and the profession and what they can and can't do, but they're not lawyers looking out for other lawyers. They're just regular people. And I think that if you did that, you might find that it actually worked and that investigations would actually happen and come up with real consequences for really bad shit instead of nothing for really bad shit. Right? Hang in there, Jack. Just hang in there. Everything takes a ridiculous amount of time. Let's remember that justice system is very slow, guys. It's very, very slow. And when I tell you that this isn't something that's just going to magically happen, I mean it. It's painstakingly slow. And listen, we all want insta karma for some of the horrific, horrible things some of these people have done, right? And continue to do. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. But a miracle happened recently. I'll tell you guys about that in a minute, but realistically, everything takes a painstakingly ridiculous amount of time. And I think that you'll find with some time, things will happen. Oh my God, yes. Oh my God, Brittany, yes. My tiny ear canals. It did make a giant mockery, Dougie. You are 100% right. It really did. That might be something that happens, Pam. That might be something that actually happens. And here's the sad part, right? And I'm going to point this out, and it's really, really sad, okay? That even the witnesses that didn't get the support they should have in the Karen Read case, right? Even they got more preferential treatment than Lindsay did. All right, let's just throw that out there. It's unfortunate and it's sad, but she didn't even get that level of preferential treatment that they got, right? different classes of people, different perceived classes. You might know someone, you might not know someone, so you don't really matter, because what can you do to us if we don't do anything? You matter a little, but not as much as we really want. We're more worried about optics and politics, and that has been one of my biggest problems with Mike Morrissey, which is why I've never hidden the fact that I am not a huge fan of his. I will never be a huge fan of his. It's unfortunate. I grew up in that county, and he's been the DA there basically my whole life almost. And I just don't like him. It's really that simple. I just don't like him. I don't respect him. And the way that they handled the harassment, the stalking, they didn't. Bottom line is they didn't handle it, right? They literally didn't. They took all the information, they took reports, and they did absolutely nothing. Why, you say? Oh, optics. You know, DA Morrissey was more worried about optics. He was more worried about what it would look like. He was more worried about riling up Stuart Turtle's mob than he was actual justice for the people who are being harmed, therefore allowing more and more and more people to be harmed and harmed and harmed and harmed. Until what? Until someone hurts themselves or someone else? What's the point in all that? Like, what is the point in all that, right? But not even Lindsay got the respect that the witnesses got, and they didn't get much, okay? They didn't get much. But she got even less, right? She was basically told nothing. Her advocate was a fucking joke, okay? I would have fired him. It was my advocate. You've been fired. I'm representing myself now. And just make something clear here. You do not have to take the DA's office advocate. You can have your own, and then they will have to communicate with your advocate. They cannot force you to use theirs. You don't need to use theirs. But if they're asking for one, you are supposed to give them one. Also, they don't just get cut off right after the case ends. They're a witness still going forward. Still a witness. Even though the case is over, they will still forever be witnesses for the state. So if there are things related to them being witnesses of the state, like their harassment is related to being a witness of the state, that office is supposed to be the one with the advocate to help them. That's the literal whole purpose. Not on Mike Morrissey's watch. He thinks he's going to be reelected. He cares more about optics. Unfortunately for him, I do not think he's going to be reelected. I think Norfolk County needs a lot of goddamn change. And I think he's been in that cushy spot so long that he seems to forget what justice actually looks like. It's not about numbers. It's not about making people take plea deals. It's about actual people being hurt and then you choosing to just not charge them. Because what? Because of who they know, or because of how much money they have, or optics maybe, politics. All the reasons you're not supposed to do those things as a DA. Did they commit the crime? Did they get charged? You committed the crime, therefore you're charged for the crime. It has nothing to do with who you know, how much money you have, who you voted for, who voted for you. Optics, none of it. Optics does not factor into whether someone gets charged for something or not. Oh, well, we've already charged someone with 27 charges, so unless he comes to your house and punches you in the face, we're not going to charge him with anything else. Can you imagine somebody saying that to you? Like, hey, we know he's committing like a bunch more crimes, right? But unless it's physical and he actually comes to your house and punches you in the face, we're just not going to charge him with anything else. I'm sorry, what now? Say that again? Come again. What now? That's not the way the justice system works. But that's the attitude that you'll get from Mike Morrissey, unfortunately. And that's part of the problem with Norfolk DA's office to begin with, is him. You know? It's unfortunate, but it's true, you know? I don't know, Jack, but that one definitely blows my mind. Whole group of that family, the Adelson family, like, hey, yeah, we're just going to murder this guy, you know? Right? Right, Grave? I agree with you, my friend. That's Bill Reed, damn it. You know, at least one of them, you're right, at least one of them, Jack, should have been like, hey, Adelson family, maybe it's not a good idea to murder people. We don't want to go to jail for the rest of our lives. Apparently not. Apparently they were all like, yeah, this is such a great idea. Let's do this. You know? Well, that's the thing. She considers her, so you could see it in her face. She thinks she's the best, right? Adelson. Like Donna Adelson is a, you know, legend in her own mind, just like the Sewer Turtle. Legend in his own mind, you know? Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot, but I will tell you this. What she has been through is deplorable and disgusting, and nobody should ever have to go through it. And I really hope that when his trial comes and everything actually is revealed, that a lot of people buck the fuck up and apologize to her. And that a lot of people realize that not only were they wrong, but they sat there and they called her names and they mocked her and they harassed her and her children for what? For nothing. In the long run, she's the one who told the truth about what happened and he didn't. So when all of that comes out, I wonder how many people will put their big girl panties and big boy panties on and actually apologize and give her the apologies that she's owed. You know? Yeah. A huge pushover, Jack. Huge pushover, you know? Planet of the Apes movie. That's hilarious because it fits. It fits. You know? The whole thing is just a circus, right? More clowns coming out of the clown car. Like, how many clowns can you fit in the clown car? That's what it felt like. You know? Well, hey, here's an idea, Adelson. It's like the same thing as when the sewer turtle was in jail and he kept pounding on the cell door as if they were going to come to him and bring him everything he wanted when he wanted it. They had to tell him it wasn't a hotel at one point. Like, sir, you're in jail. This isn't a hotel, okay? We don't care how much you cry. We don't care how much you knock on your cell door. This is not a hotel. This is not the Four Seasons, sir, okay? So that's the next thing that I was going to touch upon. Hit the nail on the head, Brittany. So before we get into that shitstorm, okay? Before we get into that shitstorm, to remind you all, hit the like button if you already have not. I would appreciate that. I would very well appreciate that. Oh, we're having a total meltdown right now. Well, a pretty big meltdown, Jack. I'm gonna tell you guys. Hey, Scorpio. All right, so hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. That's very helpful. Share the video with people. You know, if you're around on true crime threads on Reddit and you're like talking about other cases and you're like, hey guys, guess where you can, you know, come and hang out with us on Twisted Tragedies. Like, you know, let people know we exist, guys, because that helps build this community. And that is what we need. We need to bolster this community on up, as we have been doing slowly but surely. But we want to get there, right? That only get there by word of mouth and showing people that we are here and we do exist. Oh yeah. Wait until I go over this shitstorm. So this was happening while I started when I left, and then when I came back Sunday, it was still happening, of course. And then I had, you know, adult duties Monday and whatnot. So I haven't had a chance to talk to you guys about it, but current meltdown's happening. Okay. I'm going to tell you guys about the miracle that happened in the meantime. But, okay, yeah. So let me get to this part first, and then we'll go over that. So make sure you hit the like button, you hit the subscribe button. I'd appreciate that. Share the video with a friend. The little emojis on the side there of the chat, the little hearts and the faces. If you click those help the algorithm. If you'd like to donate to the channel, we rely basically on all of you guys' kindness for the channel to survive, and we appreciate all of you that do donate. It means a whole lot to us. There's one of a bunch of different ways to do so. The information is on the screen here. Venmo, Cashapp, PayPal, Revolut for those of you who are out of the country works really well. PayPal also does work really well for people out of the country. Best exchange rates on Revolut. And we have a link in the chat that you can click on and put any amount in. You can use just a credit or a debit card, so you don't have to have any of the payment apps to do that. You can also give yourself a membership, Super Chat, Super Sticker, all that fun stuff. Okay, so let me get this off the screen real quick. And because you weren't here earlier, Grave, later you're going to have to go back and rewind because we were thanking you. Well, I was thanking you for being the person that actually made this trip happen for me. And even as short as it was, I enjoyed myself thoroughly, and that would not have been possible without your help. And I appreciate it more than you know. I appreciate all of you. Every little bit, you know, that you guys send to the channel helps, you know, pay for the costs that come with running the channel. And every little bit extra that you send helps do things like put food in the fridge, or in Graves' case, helps me be able to pay for this vacation without having to feel like I am drowning. And I appreciate that more than you guys know. It touches my heart because nice things like that aren't usually done for me. I don't have a lot of family left alive. As you guys know, I have a sister who just was in the hospital, but I don't have a lot of family that's alive. So there aren't many things that happen like that for me. So when they do, I appreciate it more than you guys even know. And so I just wanted to express my thanks to you guys for all that, and especially you, Rick, because it was a really nice thing that you did, and I really did enjoy myself. And I think everyone needs that sort of mental timeout once in a while. And if you guys have a pond near you, even like go sit out in nature, sit under a tree, read a book. It's beautiful. I used to go on hikes all the time, and I can still do trails, not ones that go up on rocks or anything. But I climbed Mount Monadnock a bunch of times, things like that. I can't do those specific hikes anymore because of all the arthritis and pain and weakness I have in my body. But I can still do trails. And so I like to do trails, and you just stop and you sort of just take it all in, and it's beauty, the birds chirping and the wind blowing and the trees. You can hear the trees swaying. Sometimes you forget to stop and just take in the beauty of the world, always thinking that you have another day, but you don't. So hold on a second. 1 second. Okay, sorry, I need to get something. Okay, so there was no rapids. There's only rapids like closer to the part that's New Hampshire. We're on the main side of the river, but the water levels, like I was saying earlier, you weren't here, but the water levels were really low. We had to get out of the tubes a bunch of times and have like either the guys pull the ladies, or all of us had to get out. I think it was 2 or 3 separate times because the water was so low. Last year, it was like 8 feet higher. I kid you not when I say 8 feet. Like it was way, way, way higher. And so we didn't have to get out. But this time we had to get out. We actually had to get out a bunch of times. Although getting out, we were able to like pull up on some sandbars and hang out and meet new people, which was nice because normally the river's going so fast in that area that you don't get out. You might, float past some people or talk to some people if they're on a sandbar while you're going by, but you don't normally get the opportunity unless you start on the New Hampshire side where like the covered bridge and the rope swing are, to do that. Yeah, portage. We don't have those on the side that we go down, but if you go further back before we get in up towards New Hampshire, there are some portages. I think there's 2 specific ones. We usually get in at Swan Falls and get out either at Canal or Weston, depending on how fast the water is running. So, but there were so many people out there. All right, to the shitstorm, right? And I kid you not when I say that I think a miracle happened. I think a actual miracle happened. I think it was yesterday. For the first time for and ever, me and the Altman actually agree on one thing. We agree on one thing. We agree that crazy Christy has lost her ever-loving fucking mind. Okay? And obviously I don't talk to Altman, but here's the thing. That John Barron account that everybody is losing their ever-loving mind over. I have no idea who it is, nor do I care. I actually had the account blocked myself for saying some pretty vulgar shit about me a while back. I have no idea who the account is, nor do I care. But I have literally been accused of that account, the Mary Neal account, the Crispy account, basically every account that Christy argues with and that she doesn't get along with is either me, Karen, Kara, or Julie, in which it is none of us and never has been. So for over a year, she's been going on and on and on about how it's us and it must be us and, sharing old gossip text messages from a year ago with parts blacked out, like for a year, every day, on and on and on and on and on and on about this person spelled this way and it matches this, so it must be them. And so that's how it was asked, the punctuation, the spelling. This person talked about this on this day and we talked about this on this day. So, you know, it's the whole thing, right? It's us. It's definitely us, except it's not, and it never has been. And so the problem that I have, it could be grave. It could be. That's the thing. I have no idea who it is, nor do I care, right? But what I do care about is when you accuse 4 people, and even accusing Lindsay at points. So 5 people of being all the accounts that you don't get along with and all the accounts that you argue with on a daily basis for over a year, sharing their old text messages, thinking it's them, you know, talking shit about them, threatening them, inciting harassment and inciting mobs to go after them, but then are so unaware. The lack of self-awareness is fucking amazing with this girl. You have a lack of self-awareness to the point where you have the audacity to get on X and complain that account or any of the other ones you argue with have been talking about you for a year, and it's crazy. Who does that? Who talks about you for a year straight? Who shares messages for a year straight? Who does that? Well, that's literally what you have been doing for over a year to 5 innocent people. And then add in the 30 other people she has then accused of being that account who it was not. And it's more than 30. I'm just throwing that number out there. But for you to sit there and complain about the exact same things that you have been doing yourself for over a year, right? Over a year. And then saying that the other accounts that are doing it to you are insane. It makes no sense. They're pathetic. Does that not all apply to you? I mean, hello, lack of self-awareness. I mean, realistically, you're losing your mind over an account that we don't even know who it is. None of us even know who it is. Yet you've been accusing us for a year. All the while, we have been ignoring you for a year. Okay? We've been ignoring you for a year. Not giving you the attention that you so desperately crave for a year because those accounts are not us. We have one account each. That's it. If I have something to say, I want people to know it's coming from me. I don't need a fake account for that. Thank you. No, thank you. Okay. So what I think is funny is, so now the Altman and Christy were friends. Okay. Now Christy has said that the John Barron account is Altman and Auntie Deb, that guy Jimmy. But then she drags in Uncle Frank, who is a woman, on the account is a woman who is on the transplant list, okay? And I don't know the woman. I have never met her, but there is no reason for somebody to be attacked because they're on the transplant list and then called a grifter. You're not grifting on a transplant list, Christy. And I don't give a shit if she smokes weed or not. Some doctors actually will tell you to smoke for things like, and I don't smoke weed, so whatever, but they'll tell you to smoke for things like nauseousness, especially people with cancer or things like that. So for you to try to blast her because she admitted to smoking weed, saying she shouldn't be on the transplant list because she smokes weed is just deplorable. You don't get to decide who gets a transplant and who should be on the list and who shouldn't. If I had a healthy organ to give her, I'd give it to her myself, right? I think she needs a kidney. Well, if I have a healthy kidney, she's more than welcome to it. I will donate my kidney to her because I think it's deplorable what is being done to her. I have a lot of health problems, so I'm not sure that would work. But I got 2. I only need 1. And if that's what it takes, listen, my own kid needs a bone marrow transplant. I know what that shit is like, dude, and I know what that feels like. So that, to me, was just utterly disgraceful. So for her to sit there on her account 24/7, talking about what people should or shouldn't do, and then blasting this one for saying this and blasting that one for saying that, and this person's horrible for doing this and this person's horrible for doing that, except they're all the same things that she's been doing for a year, shows me that you have a complete lack of self-awareness. Lack of self-awareness, dude. There is a reason why I do not engage in bullying or harassment or cyber stalking. There is a reason why I encourage you guys not to do things like that. because no one deserves to be stalked and harassed online or in real life. So she made a comment, something about, oh, well, when it goes into real life, then it's a problem. That's what you've been making it do for people like me for over a year. You didn't seem to give a rat's ass that that's what you were doing to people. Then she had a problem with, oh, well, some people might want to think that they have to commit suicide to make it stop, and that's not okay. What do you think you've been doing to people for a year? Innocent people that you've been accusing. Just asking for a friend. What do you think the consequences of that were? Do you think there were no real life consequences? Do you think you didn't get people to incite harassment, the shit that you wrote, the lies, just to blame people that had nothing to do with anything? There you are, my friend. I knew one of you would pop in. It's all the same shit she does. Now you want to play the victim? No. No. So me and Altman can agree on this. Christy's lost her ever-loving fucking mind. And I do not believe that account is Altman. I just don't. Sorry, not sorry. That account itself has come after me, so I know that it's a very small subset of who it could be based on that alone. But what I do know is this. You do not get to try to play pearl clutching, okay? And the complete lack of self-awareness is fucking amazing. When you have been doing the exact same thing to 4 or 5 people, innocent people, for over a year, on every account you argue with must be us. Newsflash, it's none of us and it never has been. Nor do we even know who any of those people are. I don't even know who those people are. I don't know who the Mary Neal account is. I don't know who the Crispy account is. I don't know who John Barron is. Yet, you're still blaming all the same people that you just don't like and then playing victim when that exact thing that you've been doing to other people is done to you. It's Delulu level insanity. It's insanity. Like, absolute insanity. And listen, I have my own issues with Altman. I have my own issues with her because she's been harassing me, cyber stalking me for over a year. Probably, I'm guessing, on the theory that the theory that Cuckoo Crispy over there decided that that account must be me or Karen here or Julie, so I must be harassed. When in reality, that's not the case, not even close. I've been ignoring her for over a year. I don't go and pull into drama like that, especially when it's Delulu level crazy. Like, Delulu. I have been quiet for a year. I will not be quiet anymore. I have had enough. Enough is enough. Who gives a shit who the account is? Ignore them. That's what we do. Ignore them. What a troll says about me, I don't give a shit because they don't know me, right? Anybody who knows me knows how hysterical some of the shit these trolls say are, including Karen, my friend here, Karen. Some of the shit they say is so Delulu level. In like just pure speculation and lies. It's nuts, bro. It's absolutely insane. Okay? Insane. Yeah, I think it's the witness intimidation charges that it's a motion to dismiss on 2 witness intimidation charges, I believe. Right? Like, I couldn't be that funny if I tried. Couldn't? Yeah, Crispy. So somebody named themselves Crispy something. I don't even remember what the last one is. Thank you. Oh, hey, Casey. Yeah, some of the stuff these accounts say, like, I have no idea who they are, nor do I care at this point. I never did. But when you're accusing innocent people every other day of who that account is based on punctuation or spelling, or this account talked about this theory one time, and then 2 days later this account did, that's so weird. They must be connected. That's like delusional level insanity. Trying to draw lines to connect that don't exist at all. Like, only one person on planet Earth is allowed to talk about Maine at once. Because if you talk about Maine and one of those accounts talks about Maine, guess what? You're that account now. You're that account now. Literally. Okay? It is old, Chris, but it does have to do with, it's the witness, I believe it's the witness intimidation stuff. Yeah, I mean, Discord, you won't see this stuff in Discord because Discord's like mostly just us talking about other cases and stuff. And my Discord is like meant for you guys, like my viewers. On X, it's a whole grave. Just be glad you're not. It's like a whole cesspool of hate and anger, and just people pointing fingers at each other. And right now, FKR is having a huge, giant meltdown against each other, which doesn't shock me. No, we don't want to be associated with her in any way, shape, or form. I'm sorry, but when you start drawing lines that don't freaking exist towards each other and pointing fingers at innocent people for over a year and then crying when that exact same thing that you've been doing to people, you think they're doing to other people, I'm sorry, you have no lack of awareness, of self-awareness whatsoever. Thank you, Lisa. I mean, it's insane over there. The one thing I know is this: that account is not Jen Altman, okay? I mean, I feel like that's what it is, right? Like, it has to be, you know? So it's like, okay, at first she said, oh, I never said it was Jen because I never said Jen's name. Dude, you implied it like 17 times. Implying it and not saying her name. Then she tried to say, oh, well, I didn't go after Kara because I thought it was Kara. I went after Kara because, like, basically try to cover up the fact you tried to threaten her and her goats, okay, her animals at her house, and make assertions that you're going to go visit her in that area, claiming it was her. And then when you realize you were wrong, every time she realizes she was wrong, it's, oh, I was kidding, or, oh, I didn't really think that. No, you very clearly did think that. That's not the first time you accused her of it. Probably won't be the last time. It's not the first time you accuse me of it. Won't be the last time. Because apparently, if you say one thing, or if that account says one thing that you have ever said, guess it must be you then. Guess it must be you. It must be you. It only makes sense. The level of trying to make sense of the nonsensical bullshit is amazing, okay? Also, where's all the evidence of the setup that she promised everyone? Oh, that's right, it doesn't exist. You can't have evidence of something that didn't happen. So there's that. Just saying. You cannot have evidence of something that never happened. So the whole let's share a year of old gossip texts that mean literally nothing is amazing to me. Right? I love Kara's goats. They're so cute. They're so cute. So when we were on vacation, she has like a live feed, like cameras at her house, so we could see the goats. We looked at the goats. We looked at the goats. We did. We looked at the goats. But, right? You don't hurt animals, dude. And you definitely don't threaten to hurt animals. It's because she doesn't have children. Kara doesn't have kids. So the next thing is to threaten to hurt her animals or come and visit her. Goat yoga. I would totally try goat yoga. You should totally mention that to her. Like, next time we go to your house, we'll do goat yoga. Unfortunately, me and her live very far apart. So it was nice to be able to actually see her and hang out with her because we don't live near each other at all. And I don't have a car right now. So it's really hard to get together with people that don't live near you when everybody has like a busy schedule and I don't have transportation. So it was nice to be able to all be in one place and like be with each other and hanging out, you know? Not have to worry about, I got to get home by 8 because I got to work, or I can only see you one day a month because, it was nice to be able to, even if it was only a day and a half, it was a day and a half we all got to spend together. There were a lot of laughs and a lot of fun, and we ate a lot of food. So cheeseburgers and hot dogs and steak dips, and I made everybody breakfast, bacon, sausage. So good. And we made sandwiches for the river. I bought like sandwich meat, and we all made sandwiches for the river, which was nice. We put them all and double bagged them in bagged them, put them all in my dry bag. And we had a blast. But yeah, I want to do yoga with a goat. That sounds like fun. But, FKR is losing their ever-loving collective minds over this John Barron account, who nobody knows who it is. Apparently no one, I have asked a million people. Nobody seems to know who this account is. And that's okay. I don't need to know who it is. All I need to know is that it ain't me, right? And all I need to know is that it's not Karen, and it's not Julie, it's not Kara, and it's not Lindsay. But that doesn't, and it's not Altman. But it does not stop these people from still saying it's them. And listen, make no mistake, Altman has run fake accounts. This just isn't one of them, okay? Just isn't one of them. And there's numerous reasons why, but I don't give a shit who they are or who they aren't. It's probably the only time I'm going to agree with Jen Altman ever in my life on anything. But I think if I was her, right? And you guys know I always try to put myself in someone else's shoes, even if I don't like that person. If I was her, right, and I spent the last year harassing me over things that crazy lady claimed I did, or that I was that account, and then I found out that not only are they not that account, but now I'm being accused of that account, I would feel really shitty. I would feel really shitty. Now that depends on if you actually have a soul and you actually have feelings, you actually care that you hurt people. If you don't care and you're a sociopath, well, cool, then you just don't give a shit. But if she has an ounce of humanity in her, then she would probably know at this point, right, that she has spent the last year harassing people that didn't even acknowledge her and had nothing to do with anything. And now she's being wrongly accused of the same account that we've been accused of 72,000 times. It's amazing. It's freaking amazing. Like, so at this point, that account has been accused of being at least 100 people, I'd guess. Around 100 people, I would guess, if not more, right? What's really sad is that instead of just moving on and being like, oh, hey, I don't like what that account says, I'm going to, block that account and move on. It's still like a let's try to guess, right? Let's guess and see who it is and who we can blame it on based on X, Y, and Z, and then fight each other. So that's the weird thing, Grave, right? That's the weird thing, is it has said some pretty anti-Karen stuff, but it's also attacked sort of anti-Karen people, including myself. So it's not clear. It's really not clear that they've, called out Paula, the juror, but they've also attacked people on this side. So I can't make heads of whether it's a pro or a anti or a middle ground. Just, I don't know. I don't freaking know, right? And I think most people are claiming that it's someone from FKR that's just been acting anti, which would make sense if you want to throw people off on your account. But I don't know. They're losing their collective minds over who this John Barron account is. And what I hope it does, to be honest with you guys, is I hope that at least starts opening up dialogue between people to be grown adults and speak to one another and say, hey, like, I apologize for this thing that I did that I probably shouldn't have done, or this thing that I said about you that I just said out of anger, or I said because Christy told me that you must run this account, and so I thought you were coming after her for a year when you weren't, to the 70 people that have been accused of that account. Do I think that'll actually happen? Probably not. Probably not. But I do think that some people are about to or already have just realized that they spent the last year, 6 months, 3 months, whatever, defending Christy, thinking that these accounts are all the people that she has claimed it's been over the last year, when it has been absolutely none of them. And now she's accusing somebody she claimed was like one of her best friends. It goes to show you she'll literally accuse anybody of it. Anyone. It's like, here's an idea. Instead of focusing on attacking everyone and releasing everybody's text messages and old gossip and claiming they're something that they're not, maybe try to be a better person every day, a little bit, just a little. Maybe help someone, maybe make the world a better place. I don't know, something besides hurting people for no good reason, just because you think it's them. No real evidence, just punctuation. You said this one time and they said that one time, and the spelling, they spelled something wrong the way this person spells it wrong, so it's got to be them, which is just Delulu level insane. It has to be. Patterns. It's patterns. Oh, for fuck's sake. I'm sorry, but if you spend all day tweeting about an account that you think it is, and then you accuse 75 people of being that account within a week's time, maybe it's time to take a good look at what the fuck you're doing, right? Maybe it's time to take a good look at all the people you've accused in the past that have been innocent of it, and realize that by you publicly doing that, you allowed all those people to incite other people to then harass the people that you accused that were innocent and had nothing to do with anything. Because then you get on X and you start complaining about the same exact things. Oh, well, how dare they do that? They're awful people to do that to someone. That's terrible. Newsflash, it's the same things you've been doing for over a year. Do you forget? You're not magically the victim now. It's literally called karma. If you put bad karma in the world, it will come back to you. And I feel like that's what's happening. There's a reason why I don't engage in those behaviors. I don't want that kind of bad karma. I want good karma. I put good karma in the world, not bad karma. I don't go out and harass people. I don't make fake accounts. I don't need to, right? I barely use the one account I do have on X. And I apologize. I know it takes me forever to get back to some of you on X, and I'm really bad at it. I'm better on Facebook, and I'm better in email, and I'm better in text, and I'm better on Discord than I ever probably will be on X. But there's a reason for that, and it's because X is so freaking volatile. It's bad. People telling each other to f themselves and off themselves, and bringing children into it, and bringing transplant people on the list into something they have nothing to do with, trying to decide who lives and dies. Like, yeah, exactly, Lisa. Yes, grow the fuck up. You're all grown-ass adults, dude. Grown-ass adults, you know? They get very nasty. It's like, is this what you want to leave for your kids? Is this the way that they should behave? Whether your kids see it or not, it's deplorable behavior for grown-ass adults. Just put it out there, okay? It's disgusting. It's disgusting behavior. Grow up. Be a grown friggin' adult. You have a problem with someone? Go talk to them. This whole, let's release all their... Listen, I could have released a ton of messages a long time ago between all of these people and me from forever ago. I don't. And there's one reason, because it serves no purpose. Releasing messages and trying to shame people serves one purpose only, to try to hurt someone. I am not that person. I will not do that. I don't give a shit if I hate you. I am not releasing any personal messages anybody has ever sent me, even if I'm not friends with you anymore, because it serves no purpose other than to hurt someone else. I'm not that person. I'll never be that person. But when you feel the need to continuously hurt people based on your emotions and your feelings, maybe it's time to go get some meds and get your emotions and feelings in fucking check. Right? You would think, right? And it's not even just her, Karen. We're talking about other people I could have shared messages with from a long time ago. I don't, because it serves no purpose. It serves absolutely no purpose whatsoever. I would never do that. You know? Oh, 100%. 100%. If my kid ever acted like that, oh, help my children if they ever acted like that. No. I teach my children, if there's a kid sitting alone at school, maybe they're shy, maybe they're new. Don't let anyone sit alone. Don't let anybody suffer in silence or walk alone, right? How do you teach your kids that and then do the opposite? I will not do that. I don't give a shit how many vile, awful, horrible things they say about me, which is daily and still is daily. The things that they say are absurd, you know? Absurd. I don't deserve to have a vacation because people donate to my channel. One of the trolls said, I don't deserve to have a vacation because people donate to my channel. That's my income. And most of it actually goes to covering costs. So I don't make pretty much. So if it's my income, then why does it matter what I do with it? If I'm budgeting and I pay all my bills, what I do with the extra is none of anybody's business. And I, just like anybody who's rich, am entitled to have a day and a half off and enjoy myself. So fuck off. I know you did, and I love you for that. And I love you for that. It just makes no sense to say something like that. Oh, you're poor, so you shouldn't have vacation if you're struggling. How dare you have fun for a day and a half and float down a river if you're struggling? You don't deserve that. People donate to your channel, so you don't deserve to do that. Sorry, what now? What kind of shit are you smoking? Like, oh yeah, me too. I just blocked them. I've had most of them blocked for a really long time. So you don't even have to see it. Don't have to look at it. Nothing. When I get a screenshot, it's the only time I look. Someone will send something to me and be like, hey, this is happening. I don't go and look on my own. There's no reason for me to. None at all. Dougie, you just hit the nail on the head. It's literally like there's no mental maturity in the world anymore, especially when it comes to things like cases. Yeah, someone said that on a comment on my video where we were floating on the river. When I went live to show you guys the river. Isn't it amazing? To go back to your cult leader and tell him what he should do with his money that people donate. Because I'll tell you, he does a lot of shitty things with his money. You know what I do with mine? Pay my bills. put groceries in the fridge. I help someone else when I can. And I take a day and a half vacation, usually one time a year. And I'm actually hoping that maybe I can do one more float at the end of August if all goes well. I could possibly get people together to do that, and this time take the kids because the kids would like it too. Possibly. But how dare I take a whopping 4 or 5 days out of an entire year or longer and actually relax? Oh my God, I'm poor, so I don't deserve that. That is the most insane theory I've ever heard in my life. If all my bills are paid, why does it matter? Just because I don't have a lot left over or pretty much anything left over when I'm done does not mean that I am not entitled to go on vacation. And I think what pissed me off the most about that is what they didn't understand is the whole reason I actually got to go on that vacation and it was paid for was because of Sunken Grave. If it was not for Grave's generosity for that trip, I probably would not have been able to afford it. So, not that it's any of their business or anybody else's business, but if it wasn't for some of you, that trip would not have been possible. And I appreciate it more than any of you know, because everyone, and I don't give a shit who you are, everyone deserves time off. Everyone. People like Karen know what I do in my everyday life when I'm not live here. My life doesn't just stop when I'm not live anymore. I have responsibilities that I have to take care of every single day, just like most of you do. They act like magically your life stops when you're not live anymore and all you do is hit the button, go live and stop. And that's no, it's not the way it works. It's not the way it works. You'll like seeing the river, Lindsay. It's the last live before this one, but it's only like 20 minutes long. But it's nice to be able to see. It's loud though, so if you're wearing headphones, you can hear a lot of people screaming on the river, and so you gotta lower the headphones a little if you have headphones in. Well, that's the thing, right? So Karen shouldn't have had a defense because everything was donated to her. You know what I mean? It only applies when it's them. It doesn't apply when it just makes no logical sense, you know? You can say that again. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's amazing to me. Some of the crap they will literally say. And it's like, go apply that same level of energy to the things that you do and say. Apply that same level, right? If this is my income, right? First of all, why does it matter what my job is? Why is everybody so focused on what everybody else is doing? How about that? I enjoy what I do. I enjoy bringing cases to you guys. I enjoy bringing a community of people together that I adore. It also works for my schedule. I am disabled myself. I have a lot of health issues, and I don't always share everything that goes on with my health issues with you guys because it's private, and I have a lot going on with my own pretty serious health issues. But as you know, I have 2 family members that also have very serious, way more serious than mine, health issues that I help take care of. I also have other kids. I also have a household to run, etc., etc., etc. I'm a full-time caregiver. Okay, a full-time caregiver on top of what I do here with you guys, and on top of what I do to help my sister, who's going through it right now herself with her own health issues. So it's amazing to me that people think what? Full-time caregivers who are disabled themselves don't deserve to be paid or find a job that works for their time. Thankfully, I can stream or not stream when I need to that fits around my schedule of doctor's appointments, caring for someone, whatever, right? It fits around my schedule and it works. I can shut my camera off and get up if I'm in a lot of pain. I can shut my camera off and lay down if I'm in a lot of pain, right? So it works for what I needed to work for. And if that's what works for me as a job while I'm taking care of other people, who gives a shit? Why is that of such concern to other people? It's amazing the things that people will concern themselves with there's no real reason other than to down someone else, try to shame them. I'll never be ashamed of what I do, okay? Because when I am not here with you guys, I am doing a lot all the time. So I don't give a shit what they think or don't think. Most people who know me personally know what my day looks like every day. And for those people, I appreciate every single one of you checking in on me and checking in on how everything is going. And I love checking in on all of you. I missed you guys. 3 days is a long time without you guys. I missed you guys, right? How dare I, Jack? How dare I? I don't know. We don't rent them, Jimbo. We bring our own because it's just as much money to rent them as it is to just buy your own float. And so we have our own. We have a 2-person float, and it has a mesh bottom. And at some of the places, they don't have bottoms. Some of them do, some of them don't. The ones you rent, but you can't use their shuttle services if you use your own float. So if you use your own float, you have to get in and get out. You have to have a car at each end. If you bring your own, we always bring our own because I have my own. And so if you spend $30 on theirs and then another 20 on a floating cooler, and then you have to give it back, I use the same ones for a couple of years, obviously, until they're old and you can't use them anymore. So I save money by not doing that. We have our own floats, so there's no wait. We just take ours, blow them up at where we're getting in, and just get in the river and go. So there's no wait. You know, we had 2 big coolers in the middle. One was my really big floatable cooler, and one my sister-in-law got that doesn't have a top on it. So we just put like empties, trash, and other like things in that one, shoes, stuff like that in that one. And then my float itself has a cooler in the back of it. So like it's connected to it. So we put the food in that one. And then there's like a space in between me and my husband that's like a square with a bottom. And we put our dry bag all rolled up and put that in the middle of us. And then we put all the drinks in the big cooler in front of us. Everybody's drinks went in the big one. We put everybody's food in the one behind us. And then the one that floated without a cap that my sister had, we put the empties and all random stuff in there. But I couldn't answer how long it would take to get a float or a raft because we don't ever do that. We always bring our own so that we don't have to go through that process. But if you rent theirs, you do get to use their shuttle services, which I guess is pretty cool. But used to be able to bring your own and use their shuttle, but now they have new insurance of the last 3 years. So now you can only rent their stuff and use their shuttle. So we don't do that. Right? You know, I wish if I was wealthy, I feel like you'd all own homes and have a brand new car because I'd be like Oprah, and you get one, and you get one, and you get one, just because I would want everyone to be happy and healthy and enjoy themselves and not have to worry. And I know what it's like to worry on a weekly basis. I would not want that for anyone. No one that I care about, including you guys. That includes all of you. And so to me, it's like to say something like that is so insane. That shows a lack of self-awareness that it's like, okay, so if you have plenty of money to blow on anything, you should be able to do whatever you want. But if you work hard and you do right in life and you take care of the people that you love, how dare you do anything if you are, struggling? How dare you? What kind of nonsensical, absolute boo shiitake is that? I know. How dare I float down a river? Who does such a thing? It's so what made it funnier to me, because when I first read it, I started laughing. If you want to pick something, right? If I had stayed at like the Four Seasons and got a room with a butler, then maybe I would expect somebody to say something, right? But I'm floating down a river that it's free to float down. It does not cost money to get in or out of the river. What costs money is the food, the place to stay, the gas, usually, Airbnbs, you got to bring your own, trash bags, paper towel, things like that. So that's the stuff that costs money, right? But the river itself is free. To float down that river is free. If you live in that area, I'm jealous of anybody who lives near the Saco. They could just float down that on any Saturday or Friday and Sunday or just go home. I wish. I'm a little jealous. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie, Right? It's like, why is that anybody's business? Well, they don't. I just think it's funny because saying it out loud, you have to hear how ridiculous it sounds when they actually use their finger push-ups to type it, which sounds insane to me. And they said something else that was like, well, she, basically because I share information with you guys, because I share personal information about my personal life with you guys, like, what happened with my sister. And sometimes I feel like sometimes I have to overshare or explain, and maybe that comes from trauma. I honestly feel like it does. But I do it so that you people understand, right, where I'm coming from or why I'm saying or doing X, Y, and Z. And also because you're my community. Like, I don't need to hide anything from you. So when people say things like, well, she says too much and it's a poor me, it's not a poor me. If I'm canceling a show, I could just say I'm canceling it and not tell you guys why. But then I know I would get bombarded with text messages from you guys being like, is everything okay? Are you all right? And I know that. So instead of worrying anyone, I write what's going on, right? It's not meant for a poor me. I don't need a poor me. It's just meant to tell you guys what's going on and why there'll be no show, right? Without worrying anyone. And so I find it funny when I know, I do too. I feel like it's gotta be like a trauma response, right? Almost feeling like you have to explain too much, but also at the same time, I've come to have friendships with you guys, a lot of you personally, like privately. And I feel like getting to know one another, I feel comfortable enough that I can tell you guys, certain things that help you sort of understand who I am and what I'm about. And, maybe I do, but at the same time, I don't want anybody worrying. And I know, because I've done it before, if I just say I'm canceling and nobody knows why, I'm going to get bombarded, right? So instead of worrying people, I tell you guys the reason. I don't have to, but I do, because it's the right friggin' thing to do. And also, if I'm in the middle of dealing with that, I don't need to be bombarded with messages. Makes more sense, right? Just like you don't think these things through before they say them. They just say them just to hurt people. And it's like, you're not hurting me by saying it. You just sound ridiculous. Like, I don't have OCD, but anxiety I do. And maybe it is a little bit of that PTSD anxiety. I also think about it in a way that, like, if someone else did it, I'd be calling them and being like, hey, are you okay? You know what I mean? So I'm like, put myself in that one. I'm like, oh crap, I'm going to have to, if I don't tell them, I'm going to get a bunch of messages. People are going to wonder what's hell. So I just say what's happening. You know what I mean? It's not hard. I don't need anything from anybody. Nobody needed anything. My sister has medical insurance. You know what I mean? She doesn't need money. She has medical insurance. It was just a reason to, like, hey, this is what's going on. I'm not going to have a show, right? One idiot actually, this is the funniest part. One idiot actually tried to say, I'll reach out to the family. I have a friend that knows the entire family. They'll tell me if it's true or not. A, how'd that go for you, dumbass? Two, you certainly don't have a friend that knows my entire family, because I don't even share people in common. Like, me and my sister don't know the same people. So that doesn't even make any sense. Okay. Number two. Number three, I have very little family left alive. So you absolutely do not know somebody that knows my entire family. You might know somebody I went to high school with that I haven't talked to in 20 years, but you absolutely do not know somebody that knows my entire family. That is just a bold-faced lie. It's like saying stupid like shit like that. Like, does that make you feel like you have clout? Also, how well did that go over for you? Did your quote friend tell you that my sister absolutely was in the hospital, you fucking idiot? Like, why would anybody lie about that? Easily verifiable, by the way. It's amazing to me. But this is the shit they do to eat their own, right? And that's what we're seeing right now with the John Barron account, which is, it's you, Altman, it's you, Auntie Deb, but 2 days ago it was Kara, 3 days ago it was me and Karen and Julie, 5 days ago it was me and Karen and Julie, and some guy named Mike, and some chick named, Sarah, and 7 days ago. Like, what? Like, what? You mean on the river? You have one car parked where you start, where you get in, and you park another car at the end where you're going to get out. So there are specific places in the river. There's maps where you can get in and get out. And so you pick a spot where you're going to get in, and then you pick a spot where you're going to get out. You drop a car off where you're going to get out, and then you go back to where you're going to get in, and you get in, and you float down to where you're going to get out. And then from there, when you get out, everybody either drives back in one car if you can fit them all, or you take two people or one person, depending on how many cars or where you started, back to get their cars, and everybody comes back to the next spot. It's only a couple miles between each place, but when you're going down the river, say it's 3.8 miles, that's almost 4 hours of a float if you're going 1 mile an hour, right? So it only takes 5 minutes in a car, but going that slow down a river, it's hours. So it's real easy to do, like, where you get in and where you get out on the river. And then, the Airbnb we had wasn't on the river because there usually isn't that far up. There's a lot of them, very expensive on the river in New Hampshire. In Maine, there's not so many. They're within like a 10 or 15 minute ride, which is nice. Ours was I think 12 minutes away from the river, wasn't on the river, but also it wasn't one of the most expensive ones. There was only slim pickings were left by the time we booked it. And this was one that would fit you know, how many people had the ping pong, which we thought was fun, and the dartboard and the fire ring outside. And then to our surprise, there was passes for like the private pond, which we never got to use, which sucked because I really wanted to try paddleboarding. I have not been paddleboarding, and they had paddle boards at the house that you could bring, and they actually had canoes at the pond itself. There's like, you know, spaces that they fit into or whatever. We didn't get to do that. Hope maybe next time, because I really do want to do that. Right. Oh my God. Can you say it again for those in the back, Lisa? That's the part I don't get. I don't pay that much attention to someone else's life because their life's not my business, right? Unless they're a friend of mine and, you know, I check in on someone asking if they're okay or if they need my help or, you know, how they're feeling or whatever. I hate watching people. I couldn't be bothered. I don't care about their lives or what they do in their lives. I'm not going to sit there and disparage their lives every 5 minutes and try to think of a reason to try to like, ooh, you're bad because I said so, because I don't like this thing that you said or did, and not because it's something bad, but simply because I have a cult mind and a mob mentality, and because, you know, my mob, quote, doesn't, quote, like you. We don't like you. We didn't do tents this time. We did an Airbnb this time, which was so much easier. Because like I said, the campground we used to go to was actually closed. So now, if you don't book it like months ahead of time, most of the other ones on the river are booked out. So you have two other options. You either Airbnb it or you find a sandbar from Swan Falls down to Hiram and you do it there. But if you do the sandbar thing, then you have to bring absolutely everything, and I mean everything, no electricity, everything with you. And you have to get multiple canoes. You have to get in the river, bring it all down to wherever sandbar you're going to. Hope it doesn't rain and that sandbar doesn't get wiped out by the rain. So, and also we had to rent a rental car to go, but we would have had to bring such a ridiculous amount of stuff to do the camping on the sandbars that we decided the Airbnb just made more sense. And with like my health, with my legs and stuff, we wouldn't have been able to bring like things like the air mattresses and stuff. And there is no way my body can sleep on that ground right now. So we decided on the Airbnb, which made more sense. Also, it had a washer and a dryer so that like our wet clothes we could dry. And it just made more sense that way for us this year. Since that campground that we normally camp at, because that's the only one that you can, unless you book the other ones in advance, it's the only one you can literally drive with the car with all the stuff instead of canoe. If you're doing the sandbars, it's canoe. There's no like road that comes up on the sandbar that you can just like put all your stuff out on. You got to put it all in canoes, and more than one canoe would be a lot of stuff. Whole crapshoot. We usually like glamp, you know, not like, you know, fancy, but air mattress, battery powered fans, things like that. Like I have POTS, so I overheat really, really quick and it makes me feel like I'm going to pass out. So I have to have something to cool me down. Another reason why the Airbnb made sense. I've only had POTS the last 3 years. But the last time we did, I had like 3 battery powered fans, and it was the campground that wasn't shut down. That one's now shut down. So permits, something about permits that they didn't have, and they have to go back and get now. And so they were hoping to open this year, reopen this year. They didn't. So maybe next year, if they do reopen next year, maybe we'll do that again that way. I do think the Airbnb was definitely easier just for, you know, we're getting a little older now, and it's packing less things that you need, you know, need your floats and stuff still. So you'd have to pack that stuff on top of all the camping stuff. You'd have to camping stove, pots and pans, like all that we didn't have to bring to an Airbnb. And also we would have had to buy a lot more stuff than what it would have cost to just do the Airbnb. So it just made more sense that way. Oh, that's nice. I wish if I ever get a, you know, Airbnb, I definitely know how I would want it set up. If one day in life I own one, I definitely know. I mean, this one, it was really nice. They had like a little bucket and it said enjoy, and it was a bottle of wine and 2 bags of popcorn, which I thought was really cute. It's the first time I've seen that in an Airbnb. It was very dated. It was like older because it's like cabin style, you know, older. But it was still super fun and super nice, and there was plenty of space. We watched because the first night was really just get there, unpack, make food for everybody, and chill before the next day. And so we watched Happy Gilmore 2, and it was hilarious. I'm not gonna lie, we had some of that wine that they left us and watched Happy Gilmore too. You can say that again, especially food. Food prices are through the roof. So there is no low tide or high tide technically. It's a river. So it does eventually make it out to the ocean. Like eventually it makes it out to the ocean, but not in this area. So there's no real low tide or high tide on the river. It really depends on how much it has rained that season or not. And because they got very little rain, it is very low right now. So for instance, if it rains a bunch between now and the end of August, and I try to attempt to go back up there, say it rains a bunch, right? Even if it rains a couple of days before we go up, the river will go up feet for just inches of rain. So, I mean, it's really about how much rain they get. There is no actual like low tide or high tide. We got in at 11 something. We didn't get out until 6 something. And it was low the entire time. You know, there were spots where it got much deeper, but I've actually never seen it that low. I've never had to get out of my tube unless I wanted to. We had to get out numerous times because it was so low in certain areas, but that also made it fun in a different way where we could sort of stop right there in the river, right where we were standing, and just get out and stand around you couldn't do that before because the river like goes so fast that if you get out, that your tubes are going to keep going. You're not going to catch up to them. So it was rare that we actually got to be able to get out and stand right there with the tubes and just hold the string, and it wasn't going anywhere, you know, because I think we were going less than a half a mile an hour, to be honest. That's how slow we were going. The last time, we're probably going 5 miles an hour the last time. We were going very, very fast. So something that took like 6 hours this time took like 2 hours last time. It was like 8 feet higher last time. I think you'd find that you like it if you do it the correct way. If you do it the correct way, you have to do camping correctly. You know, you have to have like a screen house tent for the bugs, and you got to have the right bug spray, which is what we got, the eucalyptus and lemongrass repel. Bugs want nothing to do with you when you spray that bug spray. You can get it at Walmart, CVS, but it's a bottle about this big, and it's like oil based, and it's repel. And there's another brand that has it too, but it's eucalyptus and lemongrass. And I kid you not, everybody says, get DEET, get DEET. It doesn't work. DEET doesn't work. Off doesn't work. This works like a charm. They don't want anything to do with you. They don't like the smell. They don't want to be anywhere near it. The bugs won't even touch you. So it really depends on like how you camp. But I do think if you do it the right way, air mattresses, battery powered fans, that you'll be quite comfortable. I mean, if you go to a campground that has electricity, there are tents. Like our tent has like a hole in it that you put an extension cord. So you can actually bring an extension cord and bring a TV, an air fryer, whatever you want, and put it in your tent or outside your tent. But again, if you're going to ones without electricity, you got to find other ways to do stuff. So we have this little box about this big that I got on Amazon a couple of years ago, and it's really only meant for like phones and speakers, but it'll charge phones and speakers up pretty quickly. And it has a solar option to charge, or you can charge it from the cigarette lighter in the car. And once you charge it up, it'll charge like 6 or 8 devices, something like that. It's Repel. It's called Repel. I'll put it in the chat. It's Repel, and it's lemongrass and eucalyptus bug spray. It's right on Walmart.com or your regular Walmart. And it's just a spray bottle, like a pump spray. It's like oil based, and you just rub it on. Like after you spray it, you rub it. They want nothing to do with you. I swear to God. Go use it and come back. And nobody I have ever recommended it to is like, wow, I did not know that existed. Thank you for that. But it's Repel. Walmart usually has it for like $4, $5 maybe, depending on the size. They have a small one that's like this big. I haven't seen the big ones in a while, but the big ones are like this. I haven't seen those in like 2 years though, so they might only sell the regular smaller size one. But that regular smaller size one lasted 7 people 3 days 2 years ago when we went to Saco. So it was 7 people, 2 days it lasted us when we camped on the beach. That little bottle, because it's oil based, so you just rub it in. It works like a freaking charm. I'll tell you that much. Absolutely. Also, let me just check my phone real quick. Make sure. I've already been here 2 hours and 30 minutes. I did not even know we've been here that long. Catching you guys up on stuff, catching myself up on stuff. All right, let's see what we got here. I'm telling you, Lindsay, try it and then let me know. It will work. So if you have kids that are in sports like softball, baseball, and you're at the fields at night, believe me, I know because my husband plays softball. So sometimes at the fields, when it starts to get dark out and you're near the woods, the bugs will come biting, right? Whether your kids play soccer, softball, baseball, whatever. That bug spray, the entire team will use, and they won't come anywhere near us. My sister uses it when she goes to the drive-in in Mendon, the Mendon Drive-In Theater, and all the kids get sprayed down with it, and the bugs want nothing to do with you. They don't like the smell of it. They do not like the smell of it, which I didn't know was a thing until a couple years ago. Somebody else actually up in Maine is the one who gave me that tip. It was like 3 years ago. Then they're like, don't buy off, buy this. And then I looked it up, and I looked into it, and I was like, okay, it looks like it should work. And I checked, and it does. It works like a charm. Thank you, Gray, for your $20 donation. This is for delighted that you enjoyed your trip. Me too. Thank you so much. Let's see. Don't want to forget anybody. My emails are like slow motion today. Come on, email. What's happening? Jack says $10.16. Thank you, Jack. Says welcome back. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. I think that's all I see right now. I want to make sure I'm not forgetting nobody. I never want to forget anybody. Oh my God, are you guys sick of getting these like text messages for like, hey, 50% off of Dick's Sporting Goods? Like, cool. Thanks, Dick's, but I'm not shopping right now. Nor will I be. Although, to be fair, if you guys find any good deals on shorts, I desperately need shorts. I own like 2 pairs of shorts currently. I'm wearing my Red Sox shorts. That's 1 out of 2 pairs. I bought 2 pairs when we left. 1 was a pair of swim shorts. And I'm going to tell you, the swim shorts were not comfortable. They were not comfortable, so I did not wear them. I might return them. They were only a couple bucks, but I was like, oh, maybe these will be comfy. No, they were not comfy. Not even a little. And then the other pair are fine. They were really cute, white with red stripes. Feel like, anybody ever seen the candy striper uniforms? The nurses that used to have, they used to call them candy stripers. It's kind of what the shorts remind me of. But going into this year, I didn't really have shorts. It's been really hot here. It's in the 90s today. 90s yesterday, we're in a heat wave. But I don't wear shorts a lot because I have psoriasis on my left leg, on my shin. And so self-consciously, I don't like to wear shorts. But I have found that since I was in Saco and not really caring because it was hot, I wore my cover-up for the first like quarter of the trip. And then I took my pant cover-ups off. Like right after I did the live with you guys, I hopped over the edge and took them off. And I was like, you know what? The UV light is actually, like the sun is actually supposed to help the psoriasis on my legs. And I do have a yard. So I think I might pluck myself out in my yard a little bit more when the sun is out and try to like get some of that UV onto it. And to do that, I need some shorts. So if anybody knows good deals on shorts, please let me know. Ooh, Gap. I don't even know where there is a Gap anymore. Well, here's the thing. I have a lack of clothes, and I'll tell you why. Because my medication is one of those where it's water-based, so it retains water. So even my face, like it's retaining, like water. And so, but the milligrams I'm on is lower this year than it was last year. I'm slowly like coming lower and lower on the milligrams. And so some of that water weight has shed off me. So nothing that I have fits. Everything is too big now. Everything is in extra large, and I'm a large now. So I have very slim pickings when it comes to tank tops, shirts, and definitely slim pickings when it comes to shorts. So I definitely need to find some shorts for sure that I can just sort of lounge around or even go to Walmart in or whatever, sit in my yard, something a little stylish. I have wide hips and a wide butt. It's like I'm a weird shape. I got no boobs. This is all underwire, right? And I got wide hips and a wide butt, but like a small, like not a small waist, but a smaller waist than my hips and my butt. You sure? Are you sure, Jack? fall into the gap. I don't even know where there's a gap anymore. I'm trying to think. I think the last gap I remember going to was like near Hanover somewhere. I feel like there's one over in that area. Maybe there's one at the Emerald Square, Emerald Square in Attleboro, maybe, possibly. I'm like out that way, so I can't remember where the closest like gap. Oh my God, do you remember Filene's Basement? Oh my God. You know, when I was a kid, Christmas time, right? At Filene's Basement is where they used to have the Christmas thing you could walk through. Now they have it at the furniture store. When I was a kid, my grandparents used to bring us on the train into Boston and bring us to the Christmas displays. You could walk through, and they were like the old timey little like Santa moves like this, and he's in like a house with all the letters. And every year, it's like a family tradition. We did it every year, and they moved it from Filene's Basement in Boston to a furniture store in, maybe it's the one in Avon, I can't remember, but that was a thing that I remember doing every year as a kid with my grandparents, and it's a good memory. I wish there was something like that for my kids. We have our own little things that we do every year. Like we make ornaments every year, you know, which are kind of cool. My kids like doing it. Yes, baby. Hold on a second, guys. Hold on, guys, 1 second. I gotta help my little with something. Sorry, guys. Yeah. My kid decided that she was going to attempt to curl her hair on her own. Well, not curl it like with a curling iron, but curl it with a brush. And she decided she was going to do it with a comb. A comb. So she got a little piece of her hair stuck. So I'm just trying to get it out here. how she gets one tiny piece of hair like this. One tiny piece. Well, folks,
Help me.
as your children should know, never try to use a comb to try to make a curl in the front of your hair,
Help.
because this will happen.
This hurts so bad.
Well, you gotta cut them a comb by trying to curl it, silly girl.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you guys, I can't. It's one of the. You're not funny. I can't make this shit up, bro. I kid you not. So,
Finally.
what she was trying to do, right, is she thought if she just took a piece of her hair like this and did this, that she could curl it. And Dad apparently didn't know that you can't do that because Dad does not have girl hair. So, when it got stuck, she was like, "What the hell?" I'm like, "Kid, you can't twist with a comb a front bang of your hair and then think it's going to, it's not a regular brush, girl. You can't do that." And Dad, you should have known. Like, duh. You have two men not to know. Right, Lisa? Like, what in actual, like, I love you guys. I do. But, you know, women hair, men, not a thing. Not a thing at all. Not a thing. You should see my husband try to put a ponytail in her hair. It's hilarious. You dude, I can't do this. I was like, what would you do if I got hit by a bus? Like, what would you do then? Like, you'd have to learn how to do a ponytail, no? Like, like for real. Like, literally. Ooh, Forest Hills, yeah. Well, my grandparents lived in Weymouth, so we came from Weymouth. And when the Purple Line, at first we would come from Braintree. When the Purple Line finally made its appearance, we would take the Purple Line and sometimes the double decker. I used to love the double decker when I was a kid. Oh, I'm sorry. That sucks. Believe me, I know what it's like to lose a parent, and I'm in the middle of dealing with my biological dad being sick too. So most of you know I lost my dad. So I have the tattoo that says "Daddy" with the angel wings and the rosary beads. The man who raised me since I was 4 or 5 years old was dad to me. I didn't meet my biological dad until I was an adult. But the man that raised me passed away when I was 21, suicide by hanging. And it's a tough thing to deal with a parent passing that early in your life, especially in those circumstances. And my younger sisters are 7 and 9 years difference than me. So it was even harder for them, obviously, because they were much younger. Me and my brother got more of my dad, obviously, than they did. But my biological dad is sick, and I don't know how much, not a lot of time he has left. And so you sort of prepare yourself when they're sick, at least, to lose them, but it never clicks, right? Like it's still a surprise when it happens, even if you prepare yourself. Like when my dad died way back then, obviously it's not something you're expecting. He wasn't sick, right? But even with this, even with my biological dad being sick, and like you're preparing and like you're knowing like it's coming to that point, it's still no easier. Not even a little, it's just not. And with time, if people say, closure, there's no such thing as closure, Jack. Moms are very important, very important. My Nana, my grandmother, she was like my mom. She helped raise me. And when she passed, that was bad. That was hard. She passed when my little was about a month old. So close to 10 years now, but she was like my mom. So that one was really, really hard for me. But that's the thing, you go to call them, right? And even years later, and then you start to realize, oh, wait, I can't, right? Like your brain is automatically, oh, I got to tell dad this, or I got to tell mom. And then you go to do it. And then you realize like, oh, wait, I can't, they're no longer here. So even your brain goes into that mode of being like, oh, I got to call my mom, not realizing, or oh, I got to call my dad, not realizing they're not there anymore. You can't, right? Like, it's tough, especially with parents, right? Like it's tough. And no matter how much you try to prepare yourself, you're just not going to be prepared. That's just the bottom line, Yeah, it is a void that cannot be filled. Losing a child is a void that cannot be filled. It's not a road, any of those roads that I wish on anybody. Parents are something that are, a lot of people obviously lose. You're not supposed to lose your children first. That is something that's not supposed to happen. But you are never ready for it, even if you have time to prepare for it, if that makes sense. You are not deaf, sir. I had the audio off for a minute while I was unwinding this, the comb. Yeah, you learn to live with it, right? You learn to live with it. It's something you live with. It's not something that you ever get over. You think about them every day, might even talk to them still, but it's not something you get over. There's no such thing as closure. I don't like that word. I don't like the word closure. I feel like it's a false sense of hope or security. There's no such thing as closure. It's just time lets you deal with it better. Closure, I don't think, is a thing. I mean, I lost my fiance in a house fire back in the early 2000s, and I still think about him all the time. I visit his grave, and I change out rosary beads once a year. But I think about him all the time. I talk to him once in a while when certain things happen or certain songs play. Like when I hear the Eagles, Hotel California, like that's one of my dad's songs. And I know it's sort of like my cosmic way of knowing like, hey, it's my dad giving a little nudge and saying hi, So little things like that sort of let you deal with it a little bit better, knowing that they're up there watching you, or that they're proud of you, or that, they're trying to keep you safe, whatever it is, whatever your piece is with them, whether it's a smell or a song, or, the wind blowing when you're out in nature, or the waves crashing when you're near the ocean. Everyone has a thing, whether it's a butterfly or a certain flower, or funny enough, I had a dragonfly land on our float when we were in Saco, and my husband's like, dragonfly. As we know, we lost a child, and so that dragonfly is supposedly dragonflies are supposed to be children who have passed on. So that is the third time my husband has seen a dragonfly, and that's landed on or near us in the last month. So it was definitely one of those things that you're like, hey, that's cosmic sign, right, of peace in my book. Cosmic sign of peace. Butterflies, my friend Christy absolutely loved butterflies. And so when I see butterflies, I always think of her. And I know she's up there watching down on me. It's just those little things that sort of give you a little bit of inner peace. And it doesn't matter what it is. hold on to that, whether it's a smell or a song or a butterfly or a flower or a saying. The memories are what's matter. And I got so frustrated on the river because I have this pouch that you put your phone in. You got to take the case off, but there's a pouch that goes around your neck that you put your phone in. It's a waterproof case. Problem is it overheats your phone. So it would play my music, but the second I would go to take a picture, it would say overheating, shutting down. And it wouldn't let me take the picture. It would shut off the camera. And so I did not get a ton of pictures on the river like I wanted. I wanted a bunch more pictures, and my phone just was not letting me do it. And I'm like, damn, like I used to hate taking pictures. And my best friend passed, it's been over 10 years now. And she used to take so many pictures and I'd be like, God damn it, stop taking so many pictures. Like, why do we always have to take a picture? Every 2 seconds, picture. I'm actually now glad that I have those pictures, because if it wasn't for her taking all those pictures, I would not have all those pictures of her and me. And now I have so many of them. I could only wish that I have that many of me and everyone else. And so now I do take the opportunity to take more pictures, because you never know when that's going to be your last time with someone, right? My daughter loves elephants. My daughter, the one that's sick, my terminally ill older daughter, she loves elephants. And my grandmother, this was probably a year before my grandmother died, my grandmother was taking painting classes. And my grandmother painted her this picture of a big elephant, like a mama elephant, basically, and a baby elephant. And their trunks were holding each other and making a heart shape. And then it was like a sunset sort of background. And my grandmother did an amazing job painting this. And so she painted that, and then my daughter cherishes that thing. My grandmother used to send her initials and MLC in the corner of everything she made. So in Christmas time, I have this little red sleigh that she made and painted, that I will forever cherish and cry if it breaks. And then I have a jewelry box that she made me. It looks like a book, and you can slide a picture on the top. And she slid a picture of the 2 kids I had at the time that were born. My little one wasn't yet born, and she painted the box for me. So I have that, and that I very much cherish. It's those little things, you know. My grandmother was one of those people that my friends who were like my friends forever were like family. And so when my friend Katie had her son, my grandmother made him this lamp that was like made of like a train on the bottom, and she made that, signed her initials on that. And so, you know, it was those little thoughtful things that like you cherish so much. Like, I know it's corny as hell, but I love my, you know, Twisted Tragedy sign and my Justice Ab sign, like little things like that. Like what I really want is I want like a neon one that says Twisted Tragedies in red, because the Twisted Tragedies colors are red and blue and white. But I do think I would love to do it in pink. I would say Twisted Tragedies in pink, neon, pink and white, maybe, or pink and like regular, you know, white light. That would look really cool. But I do want one of those one day. It's like those kind of things. Like if somebody gets you something and they think you, like, everybody knows I love skulls and everybody knows I love, you know, sparkly. Anything that's like sparkly. You know, I'm very girly, okay? Very girly. Everybody knows that. So it's when someone picks out something for you that they know is so you. Like my sister, when she made my cup, it's skulls, and so they're flowers, right? But the inside of the flower, the circle inside the flower, they're little skulls, and the flowers are all over the cup. I absolutely love it. It's so me. It's very me. And it's like things like that you're like, that is always gonna, it doesn't have to be worth $1 million. It could be worth 27 cents. But because it was made, you know, with me in mind, like those are the types of things that you just cherish. And that's why every time I try to get someone a gift, I try to make it very personal. You know, like last year, my friend Kara's birthday is actually, we're 1 day apart, literally. I kid you not. Her birthday is the 27th of November. Mine's 28th. And for her birthday, I asked a bunch of people if they wanted to, you know, go in together and pay for this thing. And we got a star, right? And named it after her. And then with the coordinates of where the star is. Now, the package, you could either just get the star or there was like a package. So I got the package, and it comes with like a map of where the star is, the coordinates, the certificate. You could pick the color and the frame and all that stuff. And then the add-on was a necklace, and it says the name of the star, which is her name. And then it has the coordinates of where the star is on the necklace. And then it has the date of when the star was named, which I did on her birthday. And I thought that would be like something really cool and personal and different, you know, something, you don't want to get something that everyone has. And there was a little bit of leftover money. So we were like, what are we going to do with this leftover money for her? And then we decided we were going to send her crumble cookies with it. So that's what we did with the extra money. We sent her delicious crumble cookies. I mean, I haven't had crumble cookies in probably like 2 years. When I was ordering those cookies, I was like, ooh, I want these so bad. These so, especially when they do the mint ones, mint chocolate. Ooh, I love myself some mint chocolate. Delicious. Or cinnamon or funfetti cake. Delicious. So, let me see. Hold on. Let me find it. Dang it. Let's see. So also while I was gone was that shooting. Which was really sad to see. Absolutely sad. Browser, no, not interested. The tsunami, that's the other thing that Hawaii, if anybody has loved ones in Hawaii, I suggest you check on them. There's supposed to be giant tsunami that could hit. It was an 8.8 magnitude earthquake that was near Russia's like far east side. Right? I want crumble so bad. You know, girl, you don't gotta tell me. There's not one near me, so they'd have to be delivered, and then they have like the whole like it gets delivered, DoorDash, and then it's like all these fees. I wish. But they are so good. I haven't had them in forever. But the New York skyscraper guy that shot and killed 4 people, there was a 5th person in the hospital over the weekend. That was awful. And then just a couple hours ago, there was a plant explosion in Nebraska that killed 3 people, including 2 young girls, which is really sad. And now that tsunami, they're like, keep an eye out on it. It's imminently like coming, you know? It's really, there's just really shitty news. And I will give you some pretty good news. Let me see if I can pull this up for you guys. So this actually was something I was like, oh, hell yeah. So there's a new plan to try to overhaul qualified immunity in Massachusetts here, which I honestly think needs to be overhauled a lot. So this article says the contentious debate over qualified immunity for police officers returned to Beacon Hill on Tuesday as law enforcement leaders forcefully pushed back against a bill that would ease the path for civil rights claims against officers in Massachusetts courts. At a joint committee on the judiciary hearing, the police chiefs opposed a measure that would remove the requirement that plaintiffs prove threats, intimidation, or coercion in civil rights lawsuits brought against law enforcement officers. So it was filed by the committee co-chair Rep. Michael Day out of Stoneham. He said, this is not about shielding conduct, said Eric, general counsel for the Massachusetts Chiefs. Accountability certainly exists through federal litigation. No, it doesn't. I mean, that's just BS. Again, this is the guy that's representing the police chiefs. And it's like, that's great. You're going to oppose it. But let's get real. Qualified immunity goes way too far. It basically allows police to do whatever they want, whenever they want, and have no consequences whatsoever unless a DA chooses to charge them, which 99.9% of the never happens. I believe qualified immunity needs to be completely abolished in certain cases and very limited in others. Because, yes, even DA's offices get away with doing whatever they want and nothing happens to them. They resign or they find a job somewhere else and they do it over and over and over again. Corruption, and they never, ever are held account to things that they're not supposed to be doing, breaking civil rights violations, whatever, because it's, quote, part of their job and they thought they were in harm or they thought it was dangerous. They could think anything is dangerous, okay? Me sitting in my car, eating my lunch, or pulled over to text. How many people have pulled over in a parking lot, even Stop and Shop, and stopped and texted and had a knock at your window by a cop asking you what you're doing? Or you see somebody in the parking lot and you get out and you start talking to them, but they don't get out of their car, but you're at their window talking to them. This happened to me once while I saw my aunt. Kid you not, I saw my aunt. And she was like, oh, hey, I got that $20 I gave you. So she hands me the $20 that she owed me. And I just threw it in my car and turned around and started talking to her again. Cop comes over and asks what we're doing. I'm like, talking to my aunt. And the guy's like, well, it looks kind of sketchy. She handed you money and you threw it in your car. And I'm like, yeah, and? Well, it looks like it's a drug deal. I go, yeah, with my 50-something-year-old aunt. Like, what? So anything can look suspicious to anyone. You know what I mean? My aunt just started laughing at him. I kid you not. My aunt's never done a thing wrong in her entire life. And she's my only aunt. So she was literally cackling. What are you talking about, guy? She thought he was kidding. I'm like, he's not kidding. She's like, yes, he is. I'm like, no, he's not. Like, she didn't even understand that he was serious. So it's like they could say anything is, quote, suspicious, or they think anything is dangerous. I have been pulled over and texted, right? Or to pull up directions and had to put the address in. And while I'm doing that, checking, or sitting in the parking lot because you didn't want to go in the store because with the person you're with is in the store and you're just sitting there with the car on, probably scrolling or reading, when a cop comes over and asks you what you're doing, none of your business. And they cause a whole scene and do a whole slew of things. And you're like, what are you here for? I'm minding my own business, reading or texting, because you can't text and drive. So you pull over to text, right? Well, it looks suspicious. Well, if I didn't do it, then you'd be ticketing me or pulling me over for texting and driving, right? So which way do you want it? They have far too many excuses about why everything is suspicious or everything is dangerous. Qualified immunity only helps to protect them in things that they shouldn't be protected in. I'm sorry, but if there are no consequences for the actions of officers, especially when they're egregious, then that's why it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And why do you guys think that so many people could believe some vast conspiracy? This is part of the reason why, because the shitty officers that have gotten away with stuff similar, it's easy for people to believe that more officers could do it because there's no accountability happening all over the country. There's no accountability. Qualified immunity, you'll hear it over and over again. Well, even though the DA hid evidence, it's qualified immunity was part of their job. Well, even though the police killed that unarmed person, right? Qualified immunity, they thought that they say that they were in danger of their lives, or they said they were in fear. First of all, in order to have a gun, in order to be a police officer, I fully think that everybody needs a psych social and a psych test. I also believe that you should have a goddamn IQ test to even be an officer, because you cannot have emotionally charged people. And how many officers have you ever encountered in your life that have been overly emotionally charged, who are not using things like, the first tactic I was ever taught in the prison was de-escalation. Have you ever had a cop that was a dick the second he came up to your window? Ma'am, do you know how fast you're going? Yeah, 37 in a 35. That actually happened to me one time. I kid you not. 37 in a 35. 37 in a 35. This guy pulled me over. I kid you not. I literally kid you not. Braintree. Thank you, Braintree PD. And back then they were corrupt pieces of shit. So there's that. But 37 in a 35, dude. What? What? The guy was a straight dick the second he came up to my window. I was probably 20, 21 maybe. I was going to work. And 37 out of 35, the guy was just being a straight asshole. He was calling me names, the whole shebang. And I'm like, who pissed in this guy's Cheerios, right? But it's those kind of officers that shouldn't own a gun. If you can't walk up to someone's window peacefully and say, license and registration, do you know how fast you're going? While you're screaming and yelling and acting like a dick for literally no reason whatsoever, you should not be able to carry a gun. That means you have no control over your emotions, and you have no control over making split decisions in a split second. It's really that serious. So, of course, the guy for general counsel for the chiefs of police say it's not about shielding misconduct and accountability exists through federal litigation, which is just BS, okay? Through peace officer standards and training, false. Through decertification, false again. Once again, to decertify takes a whole shitstorm of things to happen. That does not always happen. And to get there is a whole ridiculous, nonsensical jump through hoops that shouldn't have to happen. Strong internal discipline. How many times have we actually seen anything that has happened through strong internal discipline? I'm going to say zero. What does not exist is a state ready for the wave of litigation this bill would invite. Well, here's the thing. It would invite that kind of litigation if you didn't have officers that weren't doing shit they shouldn't be fucking doing and hurting people's civil rights. Just saying. Then you wouldn't have to worry about it, would you? So that general counsel testifying on behalf of the state's police chief warned the proposal would shift a significant number of lawsuits into state courts ill-equipped to handle them. Well, that's life. If this bill were to become law, the state would become the preferred forum, not because it serves victims any better, but it becomes the force of leverage, or it creates leverage, not justice. Sir, that's what police have over people 24/7 is leverage. The gun they hold, the badge, they use it as a shield all the time. You ever have a cop say to you, I am, and you say that's not the law, and him say, I am the law? I've had that happen. You're not the law. That's the difference. You are here to uphold the law. You are not the law. And that's where they get shit twisted nowadays, is they are not the law. They're there to uphold the law. And the problem is we give them way too much discretion to choose whether they want to uphold the law or they just fucking ignore it. And that's another problem that we have. Mass is offering $10 per hour more and then increase by $10 an hour next August. For what? For the cops? Bill marks the only winners here will be those who know how to turn litigation into a business model. No, the winners here will be people who've had their civil rights violated and actually get justice, which has not happened. The bill marks a revival of efforts that have surfaced in every legislative session since 2020, when the murder of George Floyd in Minnesota sparked nationwide calls for police accountability. That year, Massachusetts lawmakers passed sweeping reforms but fell short of dismantling qualified immunity entirely. The Qualified Immunity Bill represents one of the few remaining flashpoints from that sweeping 2020 police reform law, which created the Post Commission and limited qualified immunity in cases involving decertified officers, which again, it's only limited to decertified officers. That doesn't really do shit, you know? Oh, for bar advocates? Yeah, well, that's not going to help them. It definitely needs to be raised more than $10 per hour. I mean, just realistically, if you want to keep people that are actually going, I mean, we have this whole thing going on, we don't have enough attorneys. Y'all only want to give them another $10 an hour when we can't even give everybody a public defender. And to be fair, most of our public defenders are not great. And I think that we could say that for every state. I'm not saying that all of them, some of them are great. Some of them are great, but most of them are not. And that's a whole nother problem where it's, if you can afford the best lawyer you can get because you have money, then that's what you get. But if you are indigent or you cannot pay thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars per hour for an attorney, then you get a public defender that's not so great. And you don't get the same opportunity afforded to people with money. That is a huge problem. It's a huge problem. It's a huge, huge problem. Realistically, the state should be willing to pay whatever a private lawyer costs, and you should be able to choose that lawyer. As of right now, they just appoint you whoever is on their roster of public defenders, unless there is a conflict. If there is a conflict, then the state has to pay for a private attorney, but they still pick. They don't let you pick. They pick. So it says a special commission chaired by Day and Senator Jamie Eldridge examined the doctrine in 2021, but was unable to reach consensus on broad reforms. The panel did, however, recommend removing the threats, intimidation, or coercion language from the Mass Civil Rights Act. As commissioners said, they found there may be egregious civil rights violations that do not necessarily involve threats, intimidation, or coercion. And that cause effectively eliminates plaintiffs' right to seek redress in state court for violations of civil rights by police officers, especially rights guaranteed by state law. The panel also called for courts to provide written findings on objectionable conduct when granting immunity. That should happen anyway. Thank you, Jack. Day's bill would codify those recommendations. In addition to removing the coercion requirement, it would require courts to document what actions, if proven, would constitute a violation of someone's civil rights, even if the officer is ultimately granted immunity due to the conduct not being clearly established under existing precedent. Day defended that section of the bill during exchanges with the counsel for the chiefs, arguing the measure would improve legal clarity and protect future plaintiffs. We can't create precedent if we don't know why this isn't being applied or is being applied, Day said. Now we're going to list out what the problematic conduct was. You're going to be excused from this, but officers engaged in this going forward will not. Asked whether the police chiefs opposed that portion of the bill, their counsel said, we do not testify on that piece on purpose. Interesting. And that they were not necessarily directly opposing it. Our primary focus is on the threat, intimidation, and coercion aspect of it, of course, because it lets them get away with a whole bunch more. Later, Day continued to press them for their opinion, and the general counsel for the chiefs said the police chiefs indirectly opposed that piece of the bill as well. Bridgewater Police Chief Christopher Del Monte also spoke against the legislation, emphasizing its potential impact on morale, recruitment, and split-second decision-making in the field. We already have a problem with that. That's why we're here, because there is an issue with all of that already. Already. I can tell you as the chief for 15 years, I make mistakes. I'm an imperfect human being. Well, we all are. He said, we feel as though changes to qualified immunity are going to have a negative impact on the job that we do. Okay, well, if we don't change it, it has a negative impact on everyone else on planet Earth, and has for a very, very long time. And I don't think it's fair to every other citizen for it to keep harming them just because you want to whine about recruitment. Here's an idea. Maybe get rid of the officers that are doing shit they shouldn't be doing, and you should have gotten rid of them a long time ago instead of trying to hide behind qualified immunity. It's that simple. So he said, Del Monte said qualified immunity is not a free pass for officers, but it is, and it has been for a long time. But a protection for those operating in high pressure situations, no, it's a pass for them to do whatever they want and claim qualified immunity. That's just the reality of it. It just is, you know? And this doesn't apply to officers that are doing everything they're supposed to be doing. They don't have to worry about it because qualified immunity wouldn't, one way or another, whether it's there or not, they're covered if they're doing everything they're supposed to be doing. Qualified immunity shouldn't save people who aren't doing everything that they should be doing. If you as a good officer, and there are plenty of good officers out there, plenty of them, that are doing everything they're supposed to be doing, they shouldn't have to worry. Qualified immunity isn't going to not protect or protect them because they're doing everything. They're checking all those boxes. They're crossing their T's. They're dotting their I's. Qualified immunity isn't going to make them cross their T's or dot their I's better. Qualified immunity really only helps people who shouldn't be helped, the officers that are not doing the things that they should not be doing. So it says, qualified immunity is not a free path for officers, but a protection for those operating in high pressure situations. Well, I know plenty of people who disagree with that, but he said, I don't know that qualified immunity has had a significant chilling effect on people that seek not retribution, but seek to have their grievances addressed in this way. I don't think this serves a prohibition to doing that. It does, though, because if you make a complaint about an officer, it literally just goes to their own department. They laugh about it, they throw it in the trash, and they call it a day. You know, advocates seeking to dismantle qualified immunity were frustrated by the 2021 commission. The ACLU of Massachusetts and Lawyers for the Civil Rights called the commission's work a failure and accused it of punting on meaningful reform. They did. The longer we leave qualified immunity in place, the longer victims will continue to bear the full cost of that violence, medical bills, funeral expenses, and the emotional trauma of experiencing state violence. ACLU legal director Matthew Segal said at the time. Supporters of reform have argued in the past that current state civil rights law sets an unusually high bar by requiring plaintiffs to prove coercive behavior, even in cases of excessive force or rights violations. The commission noted that egregious conduct by police officers may still go unpunished under the state statute if it does not involve threats or intimidation, hence why they're trying to get rid of that part. But of course, the chief counsel's lawyer said removing that requirement would open the floodgates for litigation with little merit. Well, that's for the court to decide, sir. Judge can dismiss that if it has little merit, no? Every dollar spent defending suits is a dollar taken away from training, from community programs, from the very investments that build trust and prevent harm. What I find so funny about him saying that is, buddy, you forget you have civil forfeiture that's like a slush fund for each one of your departments. They can afford to pay for it. I don't want to hear it about, oh, it takes away from this and it takes away from that. It's the taxpayer dollars, and the taxpayers would like to see qualified immunity pretty much kick bricks. And maybe some of the bad officers have responsibility taken for violating people's civil rights. And a lot of cops do it without even realizing they're doing it. I think something I'd like to see, I don't know about you guys, but something that I would like to see is I would like to see them actually have to take some law classes for 6 months to actually know the laws that they're supposed to be. I don't know how many times I have come across a situation where I'm helping somebody out of domestic violence, like a slew of different things, where cops on scene don't even know the rights or the laws that they're supposed to be there to enforce or protect, to the point where I've had to call sergeants, lieutenants, and chiefs down to the scene to have them tell their officers. And then they look like fools because I had to tell you, and then you argued with me, and so then I had to ask for a higher up to come down, and then they had to tell you. One time, the lieutenant or the sergeant told the other guy on the phone, on speakerphone, like, she's right, that is the law, and just hung up. So it made the officer look like an idiot. I find it, really, it should be embarrassing to every small town police station, okay, that they are so out of touch with what laws they're actually supposed to be there to protect. They don't even know. That's a huge problem. If you don't even know the laws you're supposed to be there to protect, or you don't know people's rights that you're violating, how do you do your job correctly? I'm sorry, but 6 months of doing, boot camp, I just don't think is enough. I think if you're going to give somebody a gun and a badge to run around and do whatever the hell they want and use that gun and a badge as a shield, they need to do some other things, including knowing the laws they're supposed to be there to uphold and the rights that you're supposed to protect as an officer. It is what it is. Also, maybe get out of your cars. When I was a kid, they used to get out of their cars. They would let us, press the button. And I know it's obviously not the same now, but they used to let us, if they were on duty and nothing was going on, take us for a ride literally around the block and let us press the button and let the, but at least get out of their car, right? And talk to the residents. They knew everybody who lived in the area. They knew all the neighbors and everybody's kids. And by first name, now you don't even know the cops that are in your own neighborhood. Don't know them, have never seen them. You have no connection to them, no nothing. And people wonder why people don't trust officers. Back in the day, they had to actually get out and walk their beats or get out and talk. Now they don't ever leave their vehicles unless they're called to a call. It's like, I get it. It's a little more dangerous. So leaving your vehicle might be a little more dangerous, but I don't think getting out of your car, and walking down the street in a neighborhood like mine, or walking down the numerous streets in a neighborhood like mine, sort of saying like, hey, Sally, hey, Bill, how's the kids? What do they do? I think that would go a long way to trust. And I think why so much trust has been lost over the years is because nobody even knows their local PD anymore. So, where Officer McDougal might have known that, John on the first part of the street, has had the cops called to his house 17 times for beating his wife. But the Sally 2 doors down has a lot of medical emergencies, but is a sweet old lady. So when that address gets called into the system, that cop automatically knows who it is. And he shows up and poor Sally sees his face. And she's like, oh, Sally sees a nice face. And she's like, oh, that's Officer Jack. Hi, Officer Jack, thank you so much for coming. And he's like, my pleasure, Sally. We're going to get you to the hospital. That is the kind of community that we had way back when I was a kid that just doesn't exist anymore between the police and the community that they serve. And that's a huge problem. And it's really simple if they just got out of their cars and actually, talk to people. I feel like some of that you would see change. And it really doesn't have to be much more. You don't have to spend extra money to make your officers get out of their cruisers and interact with people. I will say the city I live in does some of that. Not a lot of it, but they do some of it. So we know some of our officers. And we have some pretty good officers. So the last part of it says the committee received 2 pieces of written testimony about the bill, both from police organizations in opposition to it. One was from the Massachusetts Chiefs of Police Organization, shocker, and the other from the Massachusetts Fraternal Order of Police, who said the bill would subject police officers and the state to constant tort actions and cause many to question why they would be a law enforcement officer when you could be subject to civil actions by just doing your job correctly. Well, you can't be. See, that's the difference. If you're doing your job correctly, there would be no civil action. So there's that. So that doesn't even make any sense. That's a horrible argument. House members of the committee have until September 27th to make a recommendation of the bill. So if you live here in Massachusetts and you want this bill passed, you have until probably the day before that, September 26th, to let your lawmakers know. I would if I were you, that's for sure. I would let them know that that's something you want to see if you live here in Massachusetts. Hey, Ash. Hold on 1 second. I'm trying to pull something up here. Sorry, we're buffering. Hold on. So this tsunami, right? Hold on. Oh, I hope you feel better, Ash. Actually, COVID's starting to go around again. My sister's husband has it right now, and one of the kids. Looks like they downgraded the tsunami warning.
Tsunami.
Yep, tsunami. And anybody
Where?
who knows anybody who lives in Hawaii, Washington, you should definitely check in on them for sure. So it says the U.S. coastline and Japan have been downgraded to advisories after a massive earthquake off of Russia's eastern coast. Ecuadorian authorities say tsunami warning remains in effect despite little damage. So this earthquake is 8.8 magnitude. That is big. Mother Earth disasters. Yeah, exactly. The tsunami, the 8.8 magnitude. That is huge. 8.8 magnitude earthquake. Winning Galapagos Islands for the waves. They evacuated 5 prisons in Chile. Oh, troll Jackie Adkins. Sorry, you're a troll. Go back to the cult. Bye. Bye-bye now. I mean, I wish I could control tsunamis. That would be great. That would be amazing. Also, why do you hate watch people? Troll Adkins. That's weird. Also, I predicted 97% of what happened. So, yeah. Here's an idea. When you just say shit, it doesn't magically make it true. Sorry, not sorry. My predictions speak for themselves. Can you imagine being that bored with life that you make troll accounts when you've been banned multiple times? To make troll accounts just to say something with finger push-ups that literally just gets banned and blocked like not even 10 seconds later. That's really sad. Here's an idea. Try to get a life. There's that. I know it was funny though. I wish we could control things like that. Tsunamis, rainstorms. I'd totally put rainstorms on at night so I could sleep. I love the sound of rainstorms when I'm sleeping. You know? It's so funny to me. So funny to me. Like, go watch one of the people you like then. Go listen to their predictions and see how right they are. Let me know how that works out for you. let me know how that works out for you. Go try to figure out who John Barron is like everybody else. Waste your time doing that because that's a great idea. I don't doubt it. I wouldn't try to guess on a tsunami, you know? Not my forte. I'll definitely report that it's happening, but I will not attempt to do weather. Weather is not my thing. Not my thing. I know nothing about weather other than what the regular news tells me about it. I would never try to be a weather lady or man. That's for sure. That's for sure. Hold on a second, guys. Uh-oh. Yeah, that's definitely not helpful. You're right, Pam. Not only is that not helpful, but I would definitely not be able to guess how long that they have until it hits. I'm not a meteorologist. I'm independent. So I do not have that kind of knowledge. I know nothing about weather other than what the weatherman or woman tells me. That's it. That's it. And yes, of course, we are always praying for everyone's safety. So I do think that if you have people that are living in California, Hawaii, Washington, you should definitely check on them, make sure they're okay. Yeah, they don't, aren't the warnings usually pretty quick? No? Maybe? It's so ridiculous. It's like I would never take my time to troll other people I don't quote like. And also, once again, my predictions speak for themselves. My track record on guesses speak for itself. And anybody who watches me, like you guys daily, know that that was the most ridiculous, nonsensical BS comment I've ever heard. Well, that's a lot of weather people don't get it right until it's actually happening either. But I think that they could probably, predict. I think they're pretty good when it comes to earthquakes and tsunamis because they get warnings ahead of time, like right before it's happening. And during, they get the data during as well. So, and because a tsunami is usually something that happens after a hurricane, they're usually pretty good with it. I could never do that. Weather, definitely not my thing, that's for sure. Like, nope. Me either. It's weird and pathetic and a little sad. If that's all you do in life is mob mentality, go harass other people you, quote, don't like and don't watch, why are you here then? That's strange. That's weird. You're wasting your finger push-ups. Nobody's ever going to see you. There are still people that don't realize that their comments and that they themselves are blocked from my channel. It doesn't tell them. So they just keep writing comments thinking anyone is seeing them. Nobody is seeing them. They're blocked. So I'll get a notification that they're trying to write something, except no one can see it. So they waste their time over and over and over. And it's like, dude, you're blocked. Nobody can see your shit because nobody cares. That's pretty pathetic. Go do something you like to do. Touch grass, read a book, float down a river. I suggest it. It's good for the soul. You know what I'm saying? I did one time experiencing a mini tornado. I forget what they called it at the time. It wasn't a bomb cyclone, but it was something like a bomb cyclone where it was literally a mini tornado. And I watched it go right through the parking lot when I was a kid in Marshfield. Flooded the area. They were literally like mini tornadoes. They stood maybe 4 feet tall, couple feet wide, spiral, the whole shebang, but not a giant tornado. And I forget what they called them, but seen one of those once, one time. Something like a bomb cyclone, though. Oh God, yeah, all that flooding in Texas was awful, awful. at the Weather Channel. I'm not good at that. It's amazing, right? Yeah, Kate has a hearing today. I think it's to dismiss the 2 witness intimidation charges. I think it started at 2, though. So as far as I understand, it should be over. Hold on. Let me see. Or at least close to over. Let's see. I don't see anything. I don't see anything yet. I mean, what will happen is as soon as it comes out, I mean, everyone will see it anyway, but I looked. I don't see anything yet. I mean, I think the hearing was at 2, I believe. So either it's over or almost over. I think as far as I understand, it was to dismiss the 2 witness intimidation charges, which should have been dismissed anyway. They were all BS, made up by the sewer turtle. It is, you know what I mean? Oh, ew. I can't with either one of those people. Melanie Little's I don't know how anybody watches Melanie Little. I honestly wonder. I honestly wonder. You say so many things that not only are nonsensical and make no effing sense, but you don't do any research whatsoever and you just spew nonsense. I don't know how anybody buys that. Apparently she was, and I'm just being alerted to this 2 seconds ago, apparently running around saying something about Lindsay and her son that was not only completely, that her and her son, this is the best part, that because her son called her on the phone that night to ask her, because she was in like the conference room in her complex, which is on the same floor where she lives or lived, that magically that meant that her and her minor 12-year-old son was setting up the sewer channel. So absurd, because he called to say, hey mom, when are you come back to the house? Do you know how stupid that sounds? So for Melanie Little to actually try to repeat something like that because the cult said so, nobody set him up, bro. He went there of his own free will and volition and did all of those things that he did of his own free will and volition. On his own, like a big boy. Nobody set him up. He did it all on his own. Why? Because he wanted to know so badly what was in her phone and what she talked to Kate Peter about. He couldn't let it go. He needed to know because he's so obsessed with Kate that he cannot not know. He needed to see everything in her phone. Had to see it. The subpoena was secondary. He didn't really care about that. It was just throw your phone in a river. We'll get you an attorney. You don't have to do that. He wanted to see the messages between her and Kate. Why? Because at some point, Lindsay realized she was in a dangerous situation and didn't know where to turn. So she reached out and said, what do I do? You know what's so funny about that is there's messages, at least it'd say like, don't, like he's probably don't be around him. He's dangerous. Like, so to say anybody set him up is so absurd and ridiculous. He went there against his own lawyer's advice, against Karen's advice, and then wants to try to claim a setup. Do you know how absurd and nonsensical that is? How do you set someone up that chooses to do something on their own? Please. Someone fucking enlighten me. For the amount of people that he has set up with fake evidence, made up evidence, manufactured witnesses, manufactured things that his followers have actually written down on an affidavit and lied under pains and penalties of perjury for, it is amazing to me that he actually claims a, quote, setup for all the people that he's actually done it to. It's amazing. Yeah, this one was a while ago. This has been going on for a while. You know? Yeah, exactly. Not only just Ashley, multitude of other people, including using his own children. Who the hell uses pictures of their own children in the bathtub to try to set up someone? Oh, wait, he did. And then bragged about it in a group chat until the person leaked that group chat. Brought that shit to court. This was after court, after he brought this false evidence that he set up into court to set someone up. Then afterwards it was leaked. So all that damage was already done. And that wasn't the first or last person he's done it to. So for somebody who loves setting up people he doesn't like, it's amazing to me that's the first place he goes to claim is a setup. There's no setup. Nobody set him up. That doesn't exist. It never happened. He wishes, because then that would be an explanation to why he chose to do all the things that he did and continues to do all the things that he does. And he knows that if everybody finds out, which I don't know what's his end game. How is he going to explain away all the things that are going to come out? That's what I'd like to know. How are you going to explain it all away? How? At some point, people are going to realize that you lied and that you made it all up and that you did these things. Then what? Then you just hope that only half the people who watch you leave? Then what at that point? You know? What? I'd love to know. I'd love to know how that's going to freaking work, to be honest. You know, at that point, this is what I say, is that at that point, I really just hope that grown adults, like all of us, figure out that, hey, guess what? Some of us were wrong, and we probably said some shitty things about people we shouldn't have, and we perpetuated lies about people that we shouldn't have, and we were wrong. He lied to us, and therefore they grow some balls like grown adults, and they apologize to the people that they did this shit to based on what he told them. So that mob mentality of harassing people, cyber stalking people, saying things about people that aren't true, spreading rumors and lies about people, I hope they put their big girl panties and big boy panties on at some point, at least some of them, because some of them will forever just be in that cult mentality. Others will actually figure out with the evidence that they were wrong and he lied to them. And I hope that they at least have the balls to apologize to the people that they consistently hurt. Innocent people, nonetheless. But, you know, that's a tall order, I think. Well, it's always how it goes. He wants to shut you up or you to go away or for you to not tell people the things that he's done because he knows it would destroy his credibility and the things that he said. So he needs to shut you up. He needs to make you go away. What better way to do that but to spread lies and rumors about you and say that you're just mad because he, quote, exposed you, so don't listen to anything you say. It's the same play over and over and over again. He's a one-trick pony. One-trick pony. Knows one trick. The same thing over and over and over. It's literally a pattern. Anybody with eyeballs and eardrums can see it. It happened long before Karen Reed. It'll continue happening after. Well, that's the thing, right? How long does it work for until it doesn't? And it'll keep doing it as long as it keeps working until it doesn't. But how many of those times, all the evidence that comes out every time afterwards that piles up showing he orchestrated this shit against innocent people over and over and over again. How many of those times does it take for people to say, dude's a liar? Like a liar, a bold-faced liar. Plato's? No, I am not. All right, guys. I don't have any information yet. Oh, yeah, that's right. You are behind. You are behind. I forgot. I forgot. I'm going to head out because I'm starving. Oh, good. Well, they need to take more than one. Like, come on, man. Oh, no. Oh, Plato's Closet? Is that what you're talking about? I've heard of it. Never looked into it, but I've heard of it. I've heard of it. I'll have to look into it more for sure. All right, I'm gonna head out because I'm hungry. I'm gonna eat lunch because I'm starving like a hostage over here. And it's hot. It is so freaking hot today. So freaking hot. But tomorrow morning, tomorrow's Thursday. So tomorrow morning, we are gonna be here early. Hold on a second. What is this? Oh. We are going to be here at 9:30. Oh, you need to email. We'll talk later, Ash. You have to email them back and be like, yeah, no, that's not. Sorry, not sorry. That's not a thing. So you basically ignored everything else and just said, oh, we did one, so it's good enough. No, that's not. Yeah, exactly. Time to file suit. I love your stinking faces. Do me a favor on you guys' way out. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to donate to the channel, there's one of a bunch of different ways to do so. That always helps. We could definitely use the help for just a little small channel. So we get by on donations from you guys, and that's the only way that we get by. So we appreciate everybody who does their part, whether that's hitting the like button, the subscribe button, sharing so we can grow our community, whether it's donating. We appreciate all of you all the time. So we have Venmo, Cashapp, PayPal, Revolut. All this information is also in the description of the video. Along with the wish lists, and it's also on the main part of our YouTube. there is a link that is pinned in the chat. That's also in the description of the video that you can use if you just want to use a credit or debit card. Obviously, hit that like button, hit the share button. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you change all your bell notifications to all instead of some, so you always get the notification that we're live. And I'll see you guys at 9:30 tomorrow morning. There's a lot going on in the legal world, and we got quite a bit to catch up on in that aspect, especially some Donna Adelson stuff. I got to give a refresh on that for the people who don't know about the case, because that's coming up shortly, and we're going to have to give the lowdown on all that. So I love your stinking faces. I am glad to be back, and I will see you all in the morning. See you later, guys.